All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez, taking a look at the upcoming UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Kavanagh. To do all of that with me, the man, myth, and legend, Mr. Perfect, he is now known around these parts, Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
Dude, I am good. Obviously, we had fights on Saturday. It is now Monday, and we got to talk about them. I'm very, very excited. And yeah, if anybody out there has not heard yet, I pulled it off. I've done it, guys. But I will tell you what there is one fatal flaw to this. You know, there's the old saying, it's better to be lucky than smart. The one weekend I decided not to gamble and put my addictions aside. I did not make any money here, and I'm cool with that. I'm content with it. It's for the love of the game at this point. I
Indeed.
had to do it for the one time.
Absolutely. Well, yes. And if you're not aware of what we were talking about, Chase Parton was 100% perfect in his predictions of Strickland versus Hernandez down the line, every fight properly predicted 100%. So, very impressive feat there. And we are all very proud of Chase for that, making the podcast look good for real, and also lapping me. We're going to get to all of that when it comes to the standings between the two of us and our predictions a little bit later in the show. But for now, of course, we have to give our praise and flowers to Chase. Congratulations, brother.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys. And if you guys didn't know, the one time I ever put out a video, if you guys would love to go recapture the moment of me picking all these fights, I have a video about it. Just put it out. YouTube.com/AskCBSmalls, of course. And if you're here watching it, you would already know that. But either way, it's cool.
Absolutely. Make sure you go and watch that. And make sure you give that thing a like to show your support. But also showing your support by being here early is another thing. And Beeb is in the chat early. Appreciate you, brother. Got a couple other people filing in as well. Appreciate all you guys being here early and supporting the show as you do. So before we get into all of the UFC, I know that we did not have much other stuff going on. This week was a little bit light for combat sports outside of the UFC as far as mixed martial arts goes, but there was one promotion that came in it was a buzzer beater. It came in right at the last minute. Just last night, I went live, and this was a recommendation from the Discord. Chase, I had to talk to you about this one and let everybody else in the chat know, and everybody out there listening about this promotion here. Now, this might be something that if you are a more hardcore than even myself, you're going to be hearing this and be like, how could you not have known about this? Apparently, this is one that has been around for a while. Maybe it's just a blind spot for me, but it is new to me. So I got to bring this up. This is here. This is a promotion called Deep, okay? The card that we watched was Deep Tokyo Impact 2026 first round. Why was it first round? I assume that it's a tournament or something. We hard to tell
Don't need to
because
know.
exactly, you really don't need to know, and that's the ultimate takeaway. But this is a Japanese promotion. Deep apparently has been around since 2001. So, like I said, for some of the more hardcore followers of Japanese MMA, maybe they would know about Deep, and I'm just a little bit late to the game. But we watched this card. Let me tell you something. This right here was one of the most exciting and entertaining cards that I've certainly seen all year, if not in like recent memory. This took place in the equivalent of a Japanese gymnasium. Okay. This was a small venue, like a civic center kind of situation. Floor looked like it could have been a basketball court. I'm not kidding right now. But why I wanted to bring this up, not only because these fights were really good, was also because for a low, like a regional promotion of lower production value, et cetera, kind of not one of the majors here, Deep. For a promotion of this size, this is exactly what you want out of any promotion that is going to be broadcasting on the internet. First of all, it was on YouTube, makes it very easy for people to watch. But even if you're not going to put it out for free, three things that you need in a promotion: you need good camera work, you need good graphics, and you need a replay system.
Okay, everybody, if you did not catch what happened, Thinker has just disconnected in the middle of his rant, and I think he's now back. What he was talking about is a replay system, and let's go ahead and get one right now. If anybody didn't catch it, we're going to run it back right now for you.
Yeah, all kinds of problems as usual, but we fight on here. Anyway, as I was saying, three things that you need for a good promotion: good camera work, good graphics, and a replay system. This promotion that was taking place inside of a civic center had all of those things. And the fights were really good on top of it. So, I mean, if the fights are good, that's a icing on the cake, really. But if you are going to have an MMA promotion in 2026, you need those three things. Deep had all of them for what, I would assume that they put on even bigger cards than this, but on this one, they had it. So, like, I really just wanted to shout out Deep, man. This was a great promotion. I'm not going to go through all of the fights because, like I said, all of these fights were very exciting. But one I definitely wanted to at least touch on was this one right here. Now, Kohei Takagai, this dude, he goes by something different. What is it? Oh yeah, Hinotori is the name that he goes by. This dude pulled off a modified twister. What I have just come to learn is a Scottish twister.
Okay.
He pulled this
which
off.
Scottish guy pulled this off? Was it Paul Craig? Oh goodness.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know how it got where the Scots came into the equation to name it that, but this move, it was like it happened in very quick succession. Very impressive that he was able to pull it off. All of these guys that you're seeing on this card fighting their absolute hardest in the middle of this basketball court. I swear to God, there was other stuff that was fun about it. There was the dude who came out with, it might have even been him. I'm not remembering that part of it, but a dude that came out with like a Pokemon motif to his walkout. Like, it was super entertaining. We had some amazing come from behind victories. A lot of these fights were only 2-round fights, so they were really going balls to the wall off rip for a lot of these fights. So anyway, I mean, I could really like talk it all through. If you want to get a better impression of everything, it was not a super long event. Also, I think it was 4 hours total that we were on the stream. You can go back and kind of poke around the VOD of it. It's from last night. It's up on the channel. But I really just had to shout this out, this promotion Deep. It was so much fun, and it was very entertaining, and it is exactly what you need. It's the bare minimum, I would say, of what you need to put on a successful and well-received mixed martial arts promotion in the current year of our Lord.
This actually sounds really fucking good, and you've honestly put me on to a lot of different stuff, and this is, listen, Tokyo, Japan, whatever it is. I'm excited. This will be cool. That's a very good promotion to look into. I would love to catch one of these. Hopefully, they do them more often than Ryzen, of course.
Sure.
But when you actually said, he pulled off the Scottish Twister or whatever, it actually sprung to me because you watched Deep, and I did catch one. I didn't remember too much from it because the internet cut out. I was flustered. I had to do other stuff. But the point is, what I did remember, because I remember typing it in your Discord, and I said, "Why didn't Pantoja do that?" And what I meant was, there was this guy in one who threw a leg kick and it got caught and he got shoved over. But he got shoved over and he actually triangled the guy like right away. Like, it was crazy. I don't know how he did it. And I was like, man, fucking where's Pantoja at? Where this fucking random guy caught on? So I just wanted to say, I also saw an interesting submission. It was an attempt. He did not get it. Probably lost right away. I don't remember, but I remember that portion of it. So there's my one tidbit for the day, and then shout out Deep. Of course, this sounded like it was a very fun event.
Yeah, and to your point, I know that you've talked about the Japanese, jujitsu and wrestling and whatnot a good amount, and the evolution of that. A lot of very wrestle heavy fights on this card, all very exciting. So this is another good example of how exciting fights can be. I mean, there was plenty of striking too. Don't get me wrong, but it's great examples of how exciting fights can be if they are grapple heavy, if both of the guys are really going for it and trying to make the transitions and getting the reversals and all that kind of stuff. It was really a lot of fun stuff on here across the board.
And this only was MMA, right? This didn't
Yes.
have kickboxing. This didn't have a grappling series. This was MMA only. Wow,
Correct. Yeah.
I do like this one because you were putting me on to what was the other one? RGX?
RWS. Yes, I was going to say
RWS.
that I didn't think that we could have another promotion that was going to make me feel like, damn, we're finding new and amazing stuff. I thought RWS was going to top that out, but this really this is like another one. I'm like, man, now this is the promotion to beat.
No, 100%. I actually like this one more because I think mixed martial arts would be a lot better. And what did the amounts so when it comes to the opponents and the people that we saw in these matchups, was it mostly Japanese guys? Like,
Oh yeah,
almost
I think it was exclusively Japanese people.
exclusively?
Yeah,
Is
I'd say
okay.
so. I
I
don't
kind of
think that
like
we
that.
saw. Yeah, I think because I think a lot of these and this might have just been like their lower, like almost like the morning one cards, like this might have just been like their kind of their feeder system, card. Maybe
Mm-mm.
I'm
Round
I'm
one, of course.
speculating, of course. Huh? Yeah, round one,
Round,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know exactly. Like, again, it's in Japanese. It's a little hard for me to follow all of the intricate details, but yeah, I mean, either way, and that's a lot of what you get is these guys on the lower tiers are fighting their hardest to elevate themselves and advance their careers, and that's exactly what you got here.
Well, I actually really like the idea that it's exclusively Japanese guys because I think, sometimes not I mean, it's not an issue obviously to have a lot of different regions and cultures in the sport, but I think having a fight promotion that's just exclusively one region, I mean, it just kind of feels like, especially for Japan, it just feels like it's just like a Japanese game show. Like I'm just like watching them have a combat sports in the morning or whatever, and then they're going to play hole in the wall later. So crazy.
Well, bonsai. Yeah, and I also wanted to mention this dude Kaito Yoshimura. He won the main event. He is somebody to keep an eye on. I think that he's probably got a bigger ceiling here. I think he's probably going to move on from this promotion at some point.
How many Dragon Ball Z references and or tattoos did you see in this that you
Not
thought,
many,
ah,
surprisingly few. But again, Pokemon well represented. So you got a little bit of the anime in there at times. There was one dude, I forget which one it was, but there was one dude who had this really cool wolf chest piece tattoo. And the old saying, you've got two wolves inside of you. He had the dark wolf and the light wolf, and the dark wolf had a big like red X through it. And I was like, I see what you're doing here, man. I see the symbolism.
yeah.
So it was, yeah, no, dude, I'm telling you, bro. Like, if you go back and watch a little bit of the VOD of me watching it, because like you'll hear how much fun I am having just watching this thing. It was so great. And also the last thing I wanted to mention, and we can move on from this, is that all of this is a full card of men. Later in the day, they did a card called Deep, I believe Deep Jewel, I want to say is the name of it, and that is all women. So if you're thinking it's a sausage fest over here, trust women around the corner as well, represented in Deep. Deep can do no wrong by me right now. It was too much fun.
My last question, and I'm not trying to say it a certain way. I think you guys, hopefully, you understand that I'm trying to praise them. But when it comes to the commentary, I've listened to a lot of Japanese translations, and they get very they're into it. A Japanese guy who's really into it, dude. I mean, it's a very good experience to listen to. So was the commentary there for you?
Oh, it was fun. Absolutely, dude. Because that's the greatest part. This is one of the main reasons why I'm never concerned about the language barrier, is because when the fights are good, A, you recognize it as the viewer, and B, you get the feeling of what the announcers are saying, no matter whether you understand or not, then so you definitely got some of that. It was great. Yeah. That
Yeah.
all, again, really high marks across the board. And let it be a lesson to other promotions, because we have watched some really good fights in other promotions. Like I said, the one that always comes to mind for me is Acesso MMA, that's down in Brazil. We did a watch along on one of those. Great card, no replay system. I was like, guys, you need to have a replay system. So my point is that if you are doing an MMA promotion, no matter where you are in the world, if they can have replay system in the Japanese Civic Center, you can have it where you are too. And you really should have it if you're trying to be taken seriously on the world stage.
Last question I have, because I obviously wasn't here, and I think this is the most important question. And chat can attest, and then we're gonna let you guys get a little shout out. But of
Of
course,
course.
did they have a beanbag?
That they did not have the beanbag. You will hear me yell, "Sit that man on the beanbag!" My patented catchphrase at this point. You will hear me say that several times. But what I did say is that though they did not have beanbags, they're in the country where they could get them very easily, because of course Ryzen was the beanbag promotion, and B, they had their own version of that. So when they would win fights, they brought this placard out that had this like a miso soup thing on it, that had this really like thick thing that was being pulled by chopsticks, looked very delicious. So it was the victory miso, we were calling it, and two very lovely ring girls to hold that up besides the winners.
Yeah, I remember there was one promotion, and I can't remember what it was. Hopefully, you'll enlighten me. But there was the woman that would come take a selfie with the unconscious person.
That was I think that was Acesso. I think that was Acesso MMA. Yeah.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. I like that one. They all have their own little thing. I mean, if they don't have a thing, like that's why PFL is so boring because they don't have a thing. There's nothing that sets them apart because they're just trying to be another promotion kind of deal. But all these other ones, the beanbag chair, the selfie with the anime girl or whatever's happening there, all these other things it's good.
Absolutely, it really was, and yes, I would watch the lowest ranked fighters. I would watch the amateur. There were three amateur fights on this card as well, which were all also very good. I would watch amateur deep before I would watch PFL.
I am gonna give a specific shout out to
Yes,
Lachlan because I didn't wanna say it, but I would also like to let him say it and me agree with him. The Yakuza run the best promotions. I would like to believe it. Let's go ahead and run with it. But before we get into
speculation.
anything else, we gotta give a
Yes,
shout out to everybody else in the chat. Lachlan,
please.
exclusively, you are awesome, but everybody else, TJF, Hydra, Beeb, Savage, and Lachlan, and there was some more in there. Was it? We saw Beeb, we already got him. Anybody else tune in? Let me see if I can scroll back real quick and catch you guys. But
Yeah,
I
looks like about everybody.
and yeah, Rick Allen. Oh, Jeremy Hall. Jeremy Hall.
Oh, yeah, definitely Jeremy Hall, always.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Guys, appreciate all of you always, man. You guys really coming through in a big way for us, and that is always appreciated. So,
And Rick
with
Allen's out there.
of course, always. Rick Allen is always out there. He's lurking behind every corner. But
And Michael.
yeah, and the silent assassin Michael always
There
as
we
well.
go.
Good call. Very good call. Yeah, so all of that being said, again, thank you guys. But we had these fights on Saturday night, of course, the UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez. Chase, aside from being the master of predictions, before we get into breaking these fights down, what did you think of this event?
I don't want to sound like, obviously things went my way. I didn't profit off of anything. So I think that should give you a reason to believe that I'm not just saying this because because my ego is high. But like this was the best card of 2026 so far. This this was
Really?
Oh, for sure. This was
Well,
really, really fun.
yeah.
I think the pacing was nailed. Paramount had it fucking down on this one. There was no moments where I felt, come on, like let's fucking go. They were on it. Every time you came back from commercial, it wasn't just a walkout. They were already in the ring. There was already Vaseline up. The second person was already walking in. They, even, the main thing actually, I wanted to bring this up before. Actually, hold on. Let me stop. You
Sure.
tell me what you thought of this, and then we'll bring up what I exclusively needed to tell you before this. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, all of the things you're saying, as far as the pacing goes, I agree with entirely. I do think that they have gotten a good rhythm down on Paramount now in the presentation. I thought the quality of the fights was it came through in the end. I think that we got a really nice solid chunk at the very end. We had a couple of punctuated, pretty good performances through in a couple of different places. A lot of decisions on this card though. So I mean, as far as like one of the best cards of the year for the UFC, we've only had a couple. So yeah, I'd say it's probably up there. But I thought that this was an okay card. I didn't think that it was the greatest, but also I am a little bit colored by the fact that I was so very disappointed in the main event. And of course, we'll get to that.
Yes, I was excited that a lot of my picks went the right way, but like in the moments that were dull, like we'll talk about some of the funner times, but it was fun to just realize that like some of these guys are just not it, bro. Like, I mean, you're just not that guy. I mean, it's
For sure.
hilarious that you're like thinking that you are. But either way, the main thing I wanted to bring up, there was a pre-show. Like, I don't know if you guys know on Paramount, they do the pre-show. Like, you can watch the pre-show right before, and it skips you right into the event when it's over. They were talking on the pre-show. They were at the desk. They had Dustin Poirier. They had Chiesa, anybody else, whoever, and they were asking, what is Fluffy and Strickland? Who's the better matchup for Hamzat? This was 40 minutes or whatever before the event started. Now, if you didn't understand what I'm saying, that means that the UFC still thinks that Hamzat is the fucking champ, is not vacating. So there goes your crazy Kev, conspiracy. I mean, that just blew it out the water right there for me. But also at the end of the night, in the post conference, Dana also said like Hamzat, he's not vacating. So
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you brought that up because, yeah, I mean, I was skeptical of it from the second that we talked about it on Friday. So I was waiting for some type of acknowledgement one way or another, and I'm glad that they did. But really, again, even if it is a false rumor, what you should take away from this is that,
is what you should take away from this
oh
is
my
that
God.
Thinker, there he is again, guys. It's not me this
Brother,
time.
no, I know. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with the internet tonight, but no. What you should take away is that the organization is listening to the conversation always. The conversation that we have as fans is heard by the organization. They wouldn't be talking about that potential matchup if it wasn't for the rumblings in the community. Same with another one that we just talked about not too long ago as well. You were kind of speculating on the potential for Connor to be fighting Carlos Prates. that is now circulating in the ether as well. I don't know if you had heard it or thought of it yourself, and then it was heard somewhere else
Oh no,
before.
I 100% spitballed that. I am actually Henry Cejudo owes me some fucking ruples right now. Like
That's what
Jesus
I'm saying.
Christ, dude.
People, you think that that we're just this little insulated community here. I guarantee you that the show is getting out to other people more so than you would even think. So keep an eye out for things that you hear on this show going out elsewhere, because it sometimes it be like that. And my point is that the organization hears all of it. So I'm glad that that's not the case. I think that I would rather hear like what the actuality of it is from their side, like what they actually would want, what all of the fighters involved would want, and like them kind of dictate that, as opposed to it coming at something of that level. Like, look, if it's a prelim fight between two guys that you were like a fan of, whatever, like that's something that you can hear through the community, and maybe it's a little bit less important. But something at that level, when it involves a vacation of one belt, a move up of another fighter to a different weight class, like all of these different things, like let that just come down from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean?
100%. And before we really get started, Bleeding Edge, I see you. I saw you.
Oh,
You are
hell yeah.
lurking. Appreciate you. And Dave. Jesus, Didgery Dave. Everybody else is really tuning in today. You guys are awesome. Love you guys.
Gang's all here. Appreciate you guys. So anyway, okay. So all of that crazy Kev speculation aside, and all of the absolute misinformation and net negative that guy and people like him bring to the community, leave that very far to the side right now. Bringing it back to the fight night that we're talking about here. Do you have anything else overview wise they wanted to talk about before we get into these fights?
I stand by. I think, what I will say actually before we get into it. Yes, you guys once again flawless. No, but it is not just me that it came up with these ideas. It is a credit to the conversation. Obviously there was a lot of picks, and even in the video, if you go back and watch that I just posted, you'll see there was a moment where I even said I'm picking Dalia, and then we talked a little bit more, and then I'm like, you know what? I'll just go. I gotta go with Spivak. I can't let this go down like this. I can't be the guy that rooted against the guy that should, whatever. But there was definitely moments where I even think it might have even started with Jordan Leviat. We talked each other into the outcome there. It wasn't like we just off the dome threw out picks. It's not like the research really, it was the conversation. We kind of amalgamated to the right answer. So I don't really take credit. I think me and Thinker both went very, very well here. A lot of them, it's just picking the other side of the coin at the end of the day. Sometimes you got to make it a little fun, but I think we came to the rightful conclusions on most of these performances. So I'm very excited to talk about these.
All right. Well, I appreciate you giving me a little bit of a lifeline there to lump me in with your correctness. So, Lord knows I wouldn't be able to do it on my own for sure. The only other thing I wanted to mention before we got into it, and this is really mostly because we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but because of the way that Paramount does the replays of fights, they chop up the fights now and do not give you the full events. I don't know where else to put this at this point anymore. Like I usually would just slot it in wherever it happened on the broadcast, but I couldn't go back and rewatch the entire broadcast. So I will say right now, congratulations to Bruce Buffer on 30 years with the UFC. They did a very nice video package for him. Got a little emotional from it. I thought that was, hit me in the feels as well as a longtime fan. 30 years of being the goated announcer for the UFC. I mean, how great is that?
It is very great, and I think it leads into a perfect podcast conversation, and I think this is going to need the chat's opinion. We talked about Bruce Buffer has a different jacket for every single event. What are the odds? And I think likely at this point, for the Mixed Martial Arts Hall of Fame, like you said, the GOAT commentator, or the ring announcer, excuse me, not commentator, the GOAT ring announcer, I think those jackets are somewhere, and I think they are waiting for the day to have an exhibit where they have the commentator who had, not commentator, the ring announcer who had been there since UFC 4 and has gone on to UFC 400. You know what I mean? And he even said after the event, like, I'm not stopping yet. We're going to get to UFC 400 and then we'll see how it goes. And shout out to him, dude. He's fucking old. You see his hair? It's gray as shit. And he's out here yelling every day of his life, every Saturday. But you get the point. He's probably got some practice that he has to do during the week. I don't know. But shout out to Bruce Buffer. The
Yeah.
amount of time that he's spent in this sport, I love it.
So still crushing it. And yeah, to your point, I think that they'll probably have like a special wing of the Hall of Fame for him, I would suspect, with the jackets. That would be kind of dope, you know?
Right. I mean, why wouldn't you at this point? I mean, you gotta, business is always just thinking about the opportunities next. You can't let the jacket of the guy who's the most iconic portion of the UFC. I mean, it's not the fight. I mean, yes, Connor, Ronda, but when the UFC is it like Bruce Buffer is the voice of this shit at the end of the day. I mean, he starts the fights. Jesus Christ.
Of course, absolutely. And it's definitely more exciting to look at some cool, colorful jackets as opposed to the same pair of shorts over and over again that have been worn by, various different people in their fights. But either way, that's all that I had to say about, this card before we get into these fights. Shall we quit the lollygagging and actually talk about some fights themselves, Chase?
Yeah, and actually, no, let's talk about this one from Hydra.
Okay,
I'd
sure.
walk through that exhibit despite thinkers shit talking the
I
idea in
was not
Discord.
shit talking the idea. I'm saying that I don't understand the mindset of people who would want to go and say, wow, those were the shorts that Connor wore when he knocked out Aldo. Those are the shorts that Joanna wore when blah, blah, blah. Like, what I'm saying? It's like they're shorts.
Mhm.
I don't know. It just doesn't like, I don't feel the connection to the attire, I guess is what I'm saying. But at least with Buff, the jackets are colorful. So it's like, and there's a lot of them, you know what I mean? So I don't know. They're
So
okay,
if
fine,
so if
whatever. I'm a
if
hater.
yeah, I was gonna say if the shorts were custom at this point, if like, oh my god, look at Alex Pereira's shorts, they're so colorful because they're Aztec colors. You'd be like
True. Yeah.
drooling or something.
Nah, no, I guess I get. Okay, how about this? I'll give you this: that if you had the shorts plus like other imagery from the event, then maybe the shorts are just a part of a bigger exhibit.
I think you're also still hung up on the idea. You're thinking it's like, why would I want to see just a pair of underwear hanging up? It's like, bro, boxing shorts and gloves, like they're MMA gloves too, guys. Like it's not just a pair of fucking tidy whities or something, or jock strap up there. If you want to see that shit, sure, but like it's not just the shorts. I mean, you can have the gloves, God, the mouth guard. Come on, guys,
I
like.
mean, we didn't get a shout out to the tasteful thickness, but I can pull this up real quick because this is really what I think most people are actually saying. You just want to see the penis. It's okay, guys. I mean, just admit that a little bit of a penile imprint is what you're looking for. That's not. There's nothing wrong with that.
True. I think it's really funny, but it truly is. I mean, there's fight attire. They have a shirt they walk out with too. Come
No, I
on.
get it. I do get it. I understand all of
No,
that. No, it's fine. I mean, look. I think that what I like about the Hall of Fame in general, though, is exactly what we're talking about. Like what you said with Alex, with the sphere, Noche. I mean, there are like things that could be like really cool exhibits, and having like a full buff wing of like all of the jackets lined up, that would go very hard. I do it. I'm all joking aside. I definitely think that there is legitimate potential for that to be really cool and a cool fan experience.
yeah, absolutely. And shout out Adam here. Thank you
Yeah.
for agreeing. This would be very cool to see peen imprints on all the shorts,
I mean, as long as we can all be honest with ourselves, yeah.
skid marks and all. If it don't have them, I know that that's not the actual pair. It's a replica.
Well, and there was that. I forget the fighter off the top of my head. It was a female fighter who, she messed her pants mid fight, and apparently someone paid like 15 grand for him. So you're gonna have to go buy him off of that guy. See if they still have the skid marks in them.
He ain't getting rid of those, brother. You can never pay him enough. That, yeah,
That's a true fan right there.
true. Gloves were too pricey. Well,
Womp womp. All right. Well, then, all of that being said, let's talk about some fights, shall we?
yes.
We got a lot of them to go through, so I think we should probably get to some of them here. Let's begin this thing, starting off at the very bottom with the first fight of the evening: Juliana Miller versus Carly Judice. As Chase has oft to say, he predicted that the cards start out with a banger women's fight. I would say that this fits the bill. I thought that this was a good competitive fight. Carly Judice, the highest favorite on the card. I think there were a lot of people who might have been a little bit concerned at certain parts of this fight, even though it was a very solid performance for her overall.
I think this was. I mean, I said this going into it. Carly Judice is most likely. I wasn't 100% confident. You could never know certainly, but once you see it, you just can't deny it. Carly Judice is one of these athletes that has skills that you've never seen, and she's ready to use them when the moment comes. Carly Judice, we know, is a great striker. We knew could put Juliana Miller on the ropes, early and late, whatever you want to say. But did we know that if Juliana Miller was going to grab a hold of her, if she was going to be able to get back up, and or if she was going to be able to defend the takedowns, and or if she was going to even be able to have enough grit to fight through a nasty choke or whatever that she had got on her? Like, it was a great performance from Carly. And I actually had seen on Twitter, there was this one person, and it made me so mad. They had this whole chain of like all the things they learned from each fight. And the first one said is Carly Judice is not as good as we thought. Brother, are you smoking crack right now? Like, she defended takedowns and she's an elite striker. She got out of chokes and she's an elite striker. She got the round to end and back to the feet two different times. She almost put her out. I know she didn't, but I even said Juliana Miller is a lot tougher than people are giving her credit for. She's 5-4, yes, the Ultimate Fighter, alum, but Carly Judice is still looking very good in my opinion. So I don't know what they were talking about, meth
Well,
or something.
well, what I would say is, I mean, I think that all of what you're saying is still true, but there are ground problems when it comes to Judice that I do think can get fixed. But the noticeable thing to me was not once but twice she's fighting the legs when she's on the ground when there's a arm across her neck. I mean, that was to me a very big like issue that needs to get fixed very immediately. Because there are going to be higher level grapplers. This is women's MMA we're talking about here. I mean, grappling is such an important part of the game plan for so many women. I think that was really what stuck out to me. I want to believe that Judice realized that Miller was on her side most of the time, because a lot of the times Miller was like, she was backpacking, but she wasn't flush on her back. So I think that that's maybe why she felt comfortable to attack the legs first. But like, you got to go for the arm across the neck first and foremost. I mean, if she's able to cinch that up, it won't matter what the legs are doing as much. I mean, as much, of course, you need to control the opponent, but still, that happened in the first round. I was like, okay, maybe it was because she was on the side, but then in the third round, it happens again. And I'm like, this is a big problem as she moves up the rankings here. I mean, this is something that needs addressing. I mean, now I'm not saying it's something that cannot be fixed. I'm just saying that aside from all of what she did great on the feet, that was something that stuck out to me, is like, you do need to fix that, because there's going to be a much better version of a Juliana Miller who's going to be able to finish that choke.
And that's fine. I mean, it's called evolution. She's 6-2. It's not like we're gonna see her up against the biggest and the baddest yet. Just because Juliana Miller gets an opportunity to shoot for her life after she's been butchered on the feet for a couple seconds doesn't mean much. Yes, she got a good opportunity to get a submission. She got the one, and Carly Judice, I actually think, she was doing the right thing. If she doesn't move the leg, she's going to get the body triangle, and then she's going to have her on her back and backpack, and she's not going to be able to do shit with her already on her neck. So, yes, it might not have been the best move, but she got out of it. Other than that, people in the chat are actually are we trying to rage bait Chase about Carly Judice? How are you going to sit here and tell me she's not an elite striker? This is women's MMA. And she can strike for 3 rounds. She throws elbows. She mixes to the body. She throws kicks, leg kicks. What are we like? What are we missing here? She defended takedowns. Like, she got out of submissions. I mean, where are we not seeing that she has all the tools here? She's long, rangy. She uses her range. Listen, she's got finishes to it. Do we not remember that she has 2 straight finishes to her name before this, and potentially could have had a third if she would have, listen, Juliana Miller's tough, and I don't normally give that to people. Obviously, I would have loved to see her get the finish, but just because I didn't think she was going to, I'm not going to be mad about it. I thought Juliana Miller was tough enough to get to the bell. Evidently, that's what happened. Carly Judice, though, how are we going to sit here, chat, and act like this is double standard versus Peyton is like, I don't get this one. Tell me that Peyton Talbot is doing anything remotely to this. Like, oh my goodness, 3-fight win streak compared to the dude that just got.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, simmer it down. I think that no, I think that really, aside from the ground problems, this was a very solid performance, very dominant performance in a lot of ways. The second round, especially dominant second round for Carly. Her striking is so clean, and she has very good striking instincts as well. Like, her footwork is really on point. There's there was one time she'll land like 2 shots, and then she'll do like an angle out. it's like she has an instinct for the exact right sequence, not only with the striking, but also with the footwork that comes after it to keep her out of danger, from counters and any other kind of things coming at her thereafter. So, I mean, like, really, I think that the mind, as far as the striking is working, like, I think that she's on the exact right wavelength that's going to continue on serving her very well. Again, I just really think that the only thing that was the glaring problem was the issues on the ground. She was able to overcome all of that. Aside from that, it was a great performance. And as you said, Miller is a dog too. I mean, I think that we kind of, we sort of meme on her a little bit. The 5-4 record now does not look great. 5-3 coming into the fight or whatever. Like, it's not the greatest record. And she's also kind of a memeable character. She sort of has like an air of her that makes her sort of susceptible to
The
being
Catch Me Outside girl.
pretty much. I mean, as I made that joke in the Discord and it does stick. But either way, I mean, like, you see her in the fights, like, she doesn't give up on herself. She's trying to throw her own striking. Her striking has gone a little bit better over, time over time. The striking was nowhere near comparable, but you could see that there were some improvements from her previous fights. Like, she's a dog. She's out there to win too. So I think that there is a lot to be said for both sides of this equation. And Giudice is just good. She's really good. She's going to be good.
There's two more things that I want to say. CTE, thank you for finally joining. Shout out you. They have been trying to attack me about Carly Giudice, and it is just not valid because
you're letting it happen is what's happening over here.
It's funny because Lachlan, CP trying to give Carly some of that deep impact. I even said this before the week, and this is how you listen. Me and Carly are locked in because when I saw her at the beginning of the week, she was doing the post fight or the pre-fight stuff, and she's just in a jumpsuit. She's not all dolled up. She's not wearing a dress. She's not doing all of this extra stuff. No, she is ready. She's game, man. That's really all it comes down to. Carly Giudice, she really is. She seems like an experienced striker, but again, she's 6-2, guys. 8 pro bouts, and she does shit that you would see Ciryl Gane do, and you'd be like, holy fucking shit, this is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Like, Carly Giudice is really fucking good. I'm just saying.
I said, really fix the issues on the ground. That's all. That's really the only note that I have. Because I mean, like, it's only going to get tougher from here. The level of competition is only going to rise from here. There are going to be better grapplers who are not going to be on your side when they're backpacking. They're going to be flush on your back. They're going to be able to lock up the body triangle from the backpack position as opposed to trying to get it on the ground. These are all just things that she has to realize and adapt to, like, as she moves on. But as you said, 8 pro bouts total. 4 of them have been in the UFC. I believe it's either with this or this is now 5, maybe. Either way, she came into the organization pretty green with this level of striking. She's going to continue to improve. She's going to continue to get better over time. And I believe it was CTE who was saying she's like 23 years old as well. She's got plenty of time to make these adjustments. So I really see a bright future for her.
Hell yeah. No, this one was fun. I'm excited we started off with this.
Yeah, and absolutely. Me too. And I also hope that Juliana Miller can get it together as well. For as much as I like to kind of poke fun at her, with a fight like that, you see that there is, that there is value to what she brings to the equation. As a tenacious fighter, she needs to tighten up her game a little bit. But I do think that there should be, like, I don't know. I think she's fun. I think she's fun to watch.
Mate, she's 5-4. She's not coming back.
Well, hold on. You say that now, except who I could compare that to, even though I think that they're not comparable skill wise. My girl, Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes was like 5-7, if you recall, or some crazy shit. Like, she was in terrible shape, and now she is on like a multi-fight win streak. So don't count the dog out just yet.
And we're in the era of keeping exciting fighters, keeping somebody that, obviously people would talk about after the fact, like they would like seeing, that we would keep those over the people that are boring and technical and undefeated and shit like that, whatever you want to say. Shout out to you. Hats off. If she gets another fight, I mean, I would be very surprised at 5-4.
I mean, you just teed me up perfectly for the next fight. So let's move, unless you have anything else that you wanted to say here, let's move on to the next one here, because this fight here was one that had a lot of discussion during the watch along about who deserves to stay. This is Jordan Levitt versus Yadir Del Valle. I said that this is Levitt's going to Levitt, basically, is what I said about this fight. I mean, he is a grapple heavy guy. That's his primary strength. You saw the little striking that he did in this fight was it was something, it was definitely unique. I'll give him that. But really a whole lot of ground game here. I thought he was decently active on the ground, so I think that maybe some of the criticisms might be slightly overblown. But like I said, as a transition from the last fight where you're saying, keeping exciting fighters and letting some go, we literally just saw Jailton Almeida get cut after a victory for being boring. That being said, how would you translate that to what we're talking about with this fight?
This fight, honestly, it went exactly. Again, I'm gonna get tired of saying it, but this went almost exactly how I thought it was gonna go. I figured Jordan Levitt was not going to be that impressive, but was going to do just enough of holding him down and not letting Yadier get a game off that would, nullify the scoring or whatever. I think Jordan did a very good job holding him down. I did not know what the fuck he was doing with his striking. This shit, that wasn't it. That was, and then he
Yeah.
got punched in the face, like he did it in like the second round. Like he started out the round like this, and then got punched in the fucking face, and then rightfully put his fucking hands down. Like goofball stuff. But you know,
That's where the Monkey King name comes from, I believe, is the arms out like that, kind of floppy.
drunken master, gotcha.
Sure.
I It's all overshadowed because all of the meme stuff is overshadowed by the one meme that he actually, when you're aura farming, you only need one to land. It's just like throwing darts kind of deal. So when you're doing your whole drunken master, doing the wave or whatever, that can be overlooked if by the end of the fight you are slapping your opponent's butt with your tongue out looking like you are having the grandest time of your life. The allegations will never go away for Jordan Levitt. I know he has a kid. I know he has a wife. Uh, Listen, what you were doing to Yadier Davale, listen, Dan Hooker probably would have loved to be in this performance. But either way, I think it was very funny. I think it was very good. Jordan Levitt definitely got the win. Yadier, I think we were just kind of right on the money. I mean, if this dude was a little too overzealous about what he did to Isaac Dolgarian and what the case may be, and everybody knows it, and you've seen it on Twitter, and Thinker, I'm sure you know this as well, but Isaac Dolgarian is going to prison, guys.
I
He
was
threw this fucking fight, bro.
yeah, I say I had to shout out Lachlan for this one. This fight proves Bulgarian should be in federal fucking prison. Really made me laugh. Yes, no. So I mean, look, what I said here is, first of all, I just before I even get into anything else, the spanking was definitely hilarious. And shout out to the guys in the truck. Shout out to the broadcast crew, because not only did this man spank the bottom of Yadier Del Valle, but the guys in the truck used the spanking as the replay clip before the commercial break. I was like, geez, guys, sometimes you really come through with a very funny moment for us, and I appreciated that. But anyway, what I said about this is that Del Valle had every opportunity, every round, to make this fight different. Round two, stay on the feet for a while. I mean, like, there was a little bit, that's what we're talking about with that weird striking. There was a time here where it was on the feet. This is your opportunity to make this not the fight, especially after round one, especially after knowing what round one was for you. So Del Valle tries his own grappling, and that's really what we were talking about on the predictions episode, where it's like, this dude really did buy his own bullshit when it came to the Bulgarian fight. He tries his own grappling there. He had a little bit of top control in the third round and didn't do anything significant with it there. I was like, bro, this is not it, dude. Like, this is exactly what, like, your opportunities are few and far between based on what your opponent is doing, and you're not using them to your advantage to sway this fight in any way, and you're accepting position when he's on top. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's not a recipe for success over here.
I think it's absolutely. I know people are going to be mad at this performance from Jordan Levitt, and this is just the modern era of the UFC. And I think this is just a performance that was needed. Not that obviously giving Yadier somebody who could like knock him out, like okay, cool, whatever. But giving him somebody after the Bulgarian fight that not just he shows he has the ability that I could do it if I really wanted to. But I would just choose to just slap. I would embarrass you. I'm just your daddy now. Like, you may think that you have something, but like it would have been it would have been less grand if he would have just came out and Yadier got flatlined or choked out or whatever, but to genuinely for 3 rounds do things that like you can't do it. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I just have my hands out, and then obviously he gets punched in the face. But like for 30 seconds, nothing happened, and then he ends up shooting a takedown when Jordan Levitt's probably just doing like some dance moves or some shit. Like it's hilarious the way that it happened. Jordan Levitt, however you say it, is the perfect person that could have pulled this off because he don't seem like he gives a shit. Like, he dropped weight and he's like, fuck it, I'll take on this dude and then I'll have a time of my life. Whether it goes my way or not, I'm gonna have fun. And him having fun in a victory is just embarrassing Yadier's career. I mean, dude, you're a sham. You were 10-0, and now a guy willingly pinned you on the mat and slapped your bottom. Like he sunned you so hard. The dude who does the splits too, and it like the Cubans really. I don't know if they're gonna like this.
I mean, shout out to Hydra. Really, I'm trying to keep it together, but turns out the Cuban problem was his skill level. Good Lord. Chad is cooking tonight. Yeah, no, I mean, all of what we're saying is kind of what this thing was. There were significant holes in the game for Del Valle that Jordan Levitt had the exact right answer for. I saw earlier, I think it was CTE saying, oh, it wasn't active enough with the transitions and whatnot. What I saw, at least in the first round, he was going for the elbows when he had the opening for it. So at least he was active enough on top, just as Jordan Levitt I'm talking about, active enough on top to not make it so that he was going to get stood up and keep it moving when he was in those positions. I thought there was enough going on there to not make it as terrible as like it's being made out to be, but I can certainly understand why people were not super impressed by the performance.
If anybody is impressed by anything, it's me when it comes to Jordan Levitt. We always talk about hair transplants and hair dye situations. If anybody remembers, go look at old pictures of Jordan Levitt real quick because he came back, and this is how you do it, guys. You come back with a slick new hairline and then a new hairstyle that nobody's ever seen you with the shag in the back, short up top, and then you come out and you have a performance like this. I think it's very, very funny. And obviously CTE and the chat, oh no, 17 strikes, how will he ever recover? It's his ego, It's not the fact that he was so up here. That dude didn't throw that fucking fight. I just fucking whooped him. I whooped that dude's ass, and then it's like, oh, I fucking lost to the gay dude. Like, so it's just how it is.
Yeah, I always hate the accusations like that, but then he does do a little pirouette after he gets the he gets the nod from the judges, and I'm like, you're making it really hard for me to defend my man. But speaking of defending, I want to say one last thing about this fight. Round 2, Del Valle hits the illegal kick to the face of Levitt when he was downed. Referee Kerry Hatley was reffing this fight. He stopped action. He gave a warning and he gave Levitt the position back. I will give him credit here because it's the last time that he's going to get credit for anything positive on this card. And we will be talking about him in depth in a couple of fights from now.
Fair. I'll give you point there because I was not going to give him any points before we get into him in a little bit. So if you want to go ahead and give him a +1, I mean, he'll still end up negative for the night, but +1 it is.
That's exactly, yeah, really. He's just being dug out of the hole just a little bit, but he is certainly firmly in it based on some other stuff that happened on this card.
And CTE, you're just so wrong because I would not enjoy Levitt's performance. I'll love Hamzat's against DDP. That's not the case. That's not the case. Hamzat's boring. Jordan Levitt knows how to meme. He aura farms. He's fine.
Yeah, when did you see Hamzat smack DDP's ass? I don't think I saw that.
Exactly. All he did was hit him like a baby with, just like this, just harmless, nothing, no stoppage.
There you go. All right. Well, moving on to the next one here. Let's keep the train moving. This is Phil Rowe versus John Paul Labosnayani. Commentary said that Rowe was on himself to be more active in this fight. Well, he fought exactly the same as always, so mission failure there.
I swear, it is almost like obviously I wanted John Paul Labosniani to win by submission. I thought him submitting a black belt was not only possible, but the best way to establish himself into the organization. And what I will say is I was correct by saying Phil Rowe has this ability to lose all 3 rounds. And that is exactly why they gave him Jean Paul. It's a clean slate. Every round you're going to be able to do whatever the fuck you want. This dude is not going to do shit. He won't even have a flurry at the end if you do it right. And the fact that I wanted John Paul by sub it did not go my way. But what I will, give my hat to is it doesn't have to go my way. You just have to show me that you wanted it. John Paul, in this fight, I have never seen somebody, I mean, obviously I have, it's rare though that you see somebody who relentlessly is trying to go for headlock, head chokes. He's trying to get some sort of choke to finish the ending sequence at the end of the first round. He's fishing for it. He's trying to get it. And then second round he gets some, he's trying to go for it some more. Every time Phil Rowe is getting up, he's going for these chokes. I wanted to believe that John Paul was finally going to be able to get it. Phil Rowe though, he does have a black belt and he did not get choked out. So I will give him credit there. I can stop saying who gave him black belt, So, but what I will say is split decision is fucking criminal. I will say that is criminal here.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, I said, yeah, split decision, fucking please. This was one of the less infuriating commission actions on this card, but still infuriating.
Yeah, but I really like this performance from John Paul. I mean, he did not win by finish, and it does not look good in the record books. Like, damn, you got a split decision against Phil Rowe. But if you know, you know. He if this was anybody else who had a brown belt, he would have just subbed him. Kind of deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not hard when, like you said, Phil Rowe comes out and basically gives you a blank slate for the majority of the fight. I take a slight little bit of issue with the idea that Phil Rowe can lose all 3 rounds, because what you see out of Phil Rowe is that it's like rounds 1 and 2, he just it's like he's downloading the information for the entire fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's like for rounds 1 and 2, he just is kind of just in there sort of trying to figure it out. And then by round 3, after his corner is pleading with him to get active, I said between rounds 2 and 3, his corner is actively pleading with him to get more into this fight. I'm like, how many times does this have to be the exact same situation? The corner must be pulling their hair out every time that they're in there with him. But either way, round 3, he does start to turn up a little bit. But even with the increased output, there is never any killer instinct shown from him. It's not like, oh man, I know that I'm so far down now, I really need to finish. It's like, it feels like every one of the knockouts that he has gotten late in his previous fights, like Angelosa comes to mind, that they're just like sort of a lucky connection based on him just doing the things that he should have been doing the entirety of the fight. Every time that this dude fights, it's always like, where was the guy from round 3 in rounds 1 and 2? It just seems to be the same thing all the time. And then on the other side, you have John Paul Labozniani, who was actively going out there and trying to make the fight his throughout the entirety of it.
I am not gonna lie, Hydra. You have got me laughing so hard. Phil fights how Jan haters describe him, bro. I mean, Phil Rowe does, bro. He don't do nothing, man. Like he don't even like. Some people do nothing. Like what was the girl the other day? I forget her name, but she cut off the cage really well, but did nothing else with it. And like,
Oh yeah, and the one who was fighting Priscilla Cosueda. Oh no, it might have
uh,
been Priscilla Cosueda.
no, it wasn't Cachoeira. But either
Hmm.
way, Phil Rowe just stands there. He just stands there, puts his hands up. This is about all he's good for, is just at least putting the Dukes up. You can give him 100% A plus on it, but everything else when it comes to the intangibles, I'm gonna say Jean Paul really got the best of him, and I'm really happy with this performance again because he wanted so hard to win by submission. Like we were locked in. I was like, that's you got to. That's how you establish your career. Like I feel like we're on the trajectory together. I'm following Jean Paul. I didn't love him on the Contender Series. I still think he was a little bit too overzealous, a little too cocky, but I didn't get that anymore. We're going to talk about some other people who I believe maybe a little too cocky for their own good, but Jean Paul, I think is somebody that I'm going to be able to ride with for a little bit. At 10-2, it's not too promising, but there you can see the spark.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's really, I think, the big takeaway for me was that you can see the aggression that he showed from the beginning of this fight. I'm always talking about starting strong, and that's exactly what he did. He came out here aggressive, got the takedown early, got the, working on the ground. I mean, be first on display is what I said about John Paul in this fight, and I really appreciate that. I think that, there was a little bit of a time where maybe he kind of like, the output sort of waned. It kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. Like there's some, just like any newer fighter. I mean, there's some things that do need to be worked on to a little extent. But overall, I mean, I think that this was a very solid performance when you had the opportunity to do that. And I hate saying this about Phil Rowe because Phil Rowe is a Central Florida guy. as I said on the watch along, there is a potential chance for me to run into Phil Rowe at the grocery store, depending on where I am around the state. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I want to support Phil Rowe and Central Florida, combat sports, but it's like, bro, it's not when it's this, it's hard. You make it very hard. You make it very hard for me to support it. I wish it was different for him, but it is what it is. And now we've seen it multiple fights. So you can't deny truth.
So if anybody out there is listening, just know it is possible for Phil Rowe to get decisioned by Thinker in the grocery store. So
That's right. I mean, the flow grappling guy is going to have big problems in the produce section, you know?
no, literally. But yeah, no, this was a fun listen, again, you guys talk about the performances may not being the best. We had a lot of decisions. I thought this one, again, was very, very fun because you saw a hungry prospect. That's all you can really ask for when you see somebody who's young and in the game and they're starting out and they're still fighting like they're trying to get somewhere else. It's not like listen, we'll talk about somebody here in just a fucking few minutes, kind of deal who's here and is like squandering their whole fucking opportunity. So Jean Paul Bosniani, though, I don't believe it. I where were the people in the crowd, huh? How many people showed up for him this time? I feel like they packed that Contender Series arena full of the fucking faces of John Paul, but now nobody showed up to Texas, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, all of those little faces on sticks, not anywhere to be seen in the crowd. You know that they would have showed it if they were there, true. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, the only other thing that I wanted to say is that, speaking of the face of John Paul, is it just me or does he look like if you took Michael Chandler and just sort of smushed him down a little bit?
Yeah,
I,
that's a pretty good one.
I
I
think
do
it's true.
agree.
That and he's got that very little like pencily mustache that's sort of like Walt Disney. So, I don't know. That's just something else to note.
Walt Disney is that's a pretty funny pull there.
I just, I mean, if the shoe fits, but either way, good victory. So he fights on and hopefully has a better showing than Michael Chandler in the UFC.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, next up here is Punahele Soriano versus Ramiz Brahimaj. This to me was just a really fundamentally sound fight for Punahele Soriano. I mean, like, really, just what I said is this was the X's and O's on display in a very positive way, just all there lining up exactly like he wanted them to. And the coaching was on point. He's another Eric Nixick guy, and it worked really well against Ramiz here. The takedowns were obviously going to be Ramiz's plan. Punahele had an answer for that. He landed some really crispy combos, didn't overexert himself throughout the course of this thing. I really don't have all that much to say about this fight because Ramiz was very dead set, had a one-track mind as he usually does. He had tried to adjust a little bit, but I think he gassed out kind of early in this fight. So that being said, I just think that this was really kind of just Punahele's show and power to him. I mean, this was exactly what you want to do if you have a solid game plan that is negating what your opponent brings to the table.
This fight, I'll give you guys. Unfortunately, this one was probably one of the more boring ones. But when it came to Ramiz, I feel like a lot of people had this idea that there was a threat at all points. He's the grapple guy. If Punahele decides to try to grapple with him, he might get subbed, kind of deal. And Punahele again just did exactly what Timba Garimbo was able to do this to Ramiz, so I was not surprised thinking that Punahele could have the exact same success. And evidently, he had a decent, good performance, didn't even throw a single low kick. Jesus, these guys didn't throw leg kicks at all in this fight. I mean, not that it matters. It's just, can't really tell you anything that happened other than Punahele laid on him for a little bit. And then when he won, he had like a battle cry kind of deal. And it's like, dude, you just won by decision. You know that, right? Like,
Yeah, and
wasn't
a
that crazy?
very bog standard decision to that,
Yeah.
to that point. I mean, like I said, I have in the notes, round two, a snoozer. Punahele did come out in the third swinging because of that, I think, to make up a little bit of ground for that second round. But, I mean, you basically have a fight that's like kind of like one of those, it kind of has a dip in the middle. Ramiz had a good first round. I thought that, the entries were what he wanted to do. But again, I think he gassed himself kind of early in this fight. So by second round, it was already kind of a foregone conclusion that if he wasn't going to be able to stand with him and give him anything back, that Punahele was just going to be able to walk away with it. And that's what he did.
I mean, I said this, earlier in the week. I think Punahele gives Brad Tavares vibes. He's just there, not going to get finished. He's going to rack up plenty of time walking around that cage, though. Shit, I'll tell you that. He'll be one of the most steps by the end of his career, possibly. But as of right now, I mean, he's not going to get knocked out, it looks like. hey, listen, the dude that could have, we'll talk about him a little bit. He was able to dispose of him, over. So Puna Haley actually gets a lot of credit in my book. I'm a decently big fan. Uh, Polynesian fighters, love it. I'm down
Sure.
for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all credit to him. I really don't have much of a strong feeling about either of these guys necessarily. I liked Ramiz. I thought that maybe
Liked.
well, no, I mean, like, I still, it's not like this like changes my opinion fundamentally. What I thought, I guess, what I meant to say is that I liked Ramiz coming into this fight because I thought that maybe he was going to be able to show that the evolution of his game. Since we had talked about this on the predictions, he went through that medical issue, so post that he's been looking pretty good, and I thought maybe this would have been like the continuation of a trend and upward trajectory of a newfound version of him, which, I mean, I still think that he has potential to achieve that going forward, but like this should be the fight right here to show you that you need to have adjustments. You need to have the ability to think on the fly when things are not working, and you got to work on your gas tank a little bit. Like I said, if it is true what I thought I saw, that he was gassing out somewhere close to the beginning of the second, then that's a bit of a problem. You should not be puffing and huffing in the clinch early in round two.
Yeah, and this one, it did it for me because Puna Haley kind of he's a good skilled fighter. I don't know what else you want me to say, but I had fun watching the fight. Although I will admit, not the greatest performances from either of them, but it got the job done. He's a winner. And yeah, I think the more important thing that I wanted to bring up, because I don't think we're gonna get to talk about this, the tasteful thickness. Crazy seeing so many Southern rappers. I saw a little flip. I wanted to make a point that, because we didn't talk about this at the beginning, there was a lot of people shown on that jumbotron I've never fucking seen in my life. There was one person that I will also bring up that were on the jumbotron. It was the five-time Booker T. There you go. So good
Yes,
deal.
I saw Booker T, and I heard some people commenting on some of the people that were being shown. Uh, y'all youngins out there, okay, there were some rap legends being shown on the screen. Trey the Truth, good. I was never the hugest fan, but I still got a lot of respect. But the OG that was shown on the screen, that if I hear anybody saying a negative word about this man, you have problems with me personally. Bun B. Bun B of UGK got his shine on the screen, and I'm sure that there were some people who don't know about UGK and Bun B. Bun B is an old school legend of Southern hip hop, and UGK was a legendary group. R.I.P. to Pimp C. So just saying, if you don't know, before you make any kind of comments, you're showing your own ignorance by making those kinds of comments. Go and get hip first, and then listen to the music. And if you don't like it, that's your choice. But to come from an informed place is what I'm trying to say.
Listen, I do listen to some of the rapsters' musics that come from Texas, and Paul Wall walked out with a fighter on a boxing card the same night. Unfortunately, where was he at?
He was walking out a fighter on a boxing card. Apparently, Paul Wall, another legend of the city. So yeah,
And
absolutely.
apparently, Bun B looked exactly the same. Can you comment on that?
He certainly does. Man does not age. He also has a Trill Burger restaurant chain down there now. So if you are in the area, make sure you get yourself a tasty hamburger from Bun B and crew.
You know what's crazy, and this is the unfortunate issue with the rap game. When you said chain, I'm thinking he has a burger chain. What a fat fuck!
That would have been dope, though. That might have been the next move, is to promote it with his with a custom iced out chain. You could talk to
Nice.
Paul Wall about that. I'm sure he knows people who could help him out.
Johnny Dang, where you at?
True, exactly. But yeah, shout out to all the rap legends out there. And again, if you guys are newer to the game, get hip. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
there's good
Hell
stuff
yeah.
back there. All right, well, back to fighting over here. Let's talk about this one. I know that there's some positive praise to be given, although a little bit of a scary situation. This is Nora Cornell versus Jocelyn Edwards. As we both said, I think that I should at least get a little bit of praise for going along with the evolution of the thought process here, because I also picked Jocelyn Edwards to win this fight, even though this was a rematch and she had lost the first fight. I thought that this was a really good showing of her making weight, which was great because she has had problems with that in the past. Even making weight, she is very large. I mean, like, she has a lot of body mass that she uses very well. And this was, I think, a really good example of her utilizing her ability to muscle her opponent around, because Nora is usually the one that wants to try to use her muscling ability to kind of bully her opponents. And she started with that. Nora started out this fight kind of decently with knees and elbows in the clinch. Jocelyn stayed in there, not really worrying about it too much, and then able to, she had her on her side picked up at one point. That didn't really go where she wanted it to, but of course, she finally got what she wanted when the slam happened. And of course, we can talk about all the fallout from that a little later.
Well, I mean, there's really not much more I would say there's to talk about other than the final sequence. I mean, the first round can't even tell you there was anything that mattered much to me. Second round started, and they're already up against the cage, and then it kind of just happened out of nowhere. You see Jocelyn finally lift her, but you don't really think about Nora's arm being completely trapped, kind of the way it was.
Yeah.
So when Jocelyn picks her up, I mean, credit to her. This is a pretty gnarly slam. Obviously without getting like some leverage. She's this is full grip strength. Just pick up, and she dropped her right on her fucking shoulder. And we'll obviously talk about what the aftermath of that. But I want to talk about specifically how this was not ended as a fucking TKO. I think this was very scary. She dropped her right on her shoulder and started raining down shots. And Nora Cornell was just fucking laying there. Her head's not even moving for a second. She's getting dribbled off the canvas. The ref, Jocelyn stops like for a second, like, are you gonna like? And then she doesn't. Nora finally is like getting back to her feet, clearly still disoriented, and then Jocelyn, jumps on the neck, gets the choke. I mean, it was unfortunate that she had to get those strikes taken, at the time, but it also was unfortunate that she had to get choked out immediately after she had been fucking basically, brained at the fucking ground there. So it sucked. All of that considered, it sucked that you should have been TKO'd, yes. Then you get submitted, yes, but then you find out that Nora's shoulder or collarbone, something of the sort, was fucked up in that aftermath or in that incident kind of deal, because she is to tears. She is sitting in the corner on her stool. She can't do the ending ritual, whatever you want to say. Jocelyn goes over to check on her. I mean, you see tears. I mean, it might have been a little sweat, but I mean, she was crying, guys. I mean, and I I had heard a lot of people saying like, "You're a professional fighter. Like, come on, how are you gonna sit there and cry?" Like, let's be real, bro. She got dropped fucking hard. She don't even know where she's at, bro. Her fucking skull was just like caved in for a second, and then she's just got choked. Like she can't even breathe. Like, bro, give her a moment. She's probably experiencing like not only like okay, when she gets dropped initially, she's probably laying there like, man, my fucking shoulder is fucked, and then like she gets started pounding her fucking head in there. Okay, we should have ended it there. It didn't. So then she's coming to, maybe doesn't even realize she's in a fight at that point. She's just getting back to her feet. Now she's got somebody choking the life out of her. Let the girl cry, bro. That was a pretty brutal fucking beat. When Billy Elicana subbed Kevin Christensen, and the ref didn't see him tapping, and then he goes unconscious. Bro thinks he's gonna die. Like let these guys have their moments, bro. Like that's some traumatizing shit. Like let's be real. Like bro,
Yeah.
fuck Nora Cornell. I don't necessarily, you're not my favorite fighter, but I will at least respect that you got dropped hard as shit, injured, you got injured, then got TKO'd, which was unfortunate because you didn't need to have that happen. And then you had to be gasping for air after you had to get fucking choked out. Like very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Seriously.
Yeah, she was in a world of pain. She had to be stretchered out. Definitely something nasty happened there. You heard the snap or the pop or whatever. They made a point to do the audio replay of this one. They're like, let's listen in to what happened here. And when you hear it, like in the real time, you can hear it if you were paying attention close enough. But to hear it isolated like that, something gnarly happened for sure. Something bad happened there. No update on exactly the extent of the damage as far as I've been able to see right now, but it was definitely something traumatic. And yeah, I mean, give these guys a little bit of leeway, man. They're out there doing crazy hard things that a lot of the world would never dream of doing. So if that's how she reacted to it, I think that the right thing to do is just let her be. But yeah, I mean, going back to the actual incident itself, you're right. I mean, the ref looking right at the action as she's coming to after being out. Jocelyn looking right at the ref. The two of them lock eyes for a second, and ref just says, "Fight on." It's like, okie doke. And I think I saw someone, TJF was asking if it was the same referee as the Harrell fight. No, I believe that this was Jacob Montalvo who was this referee in this fight. I'm fairly certain. Either way, another time of just a dude who wanted to see a dead body, it would seem.
Well, yes, true, but I think before we, say anything else, because there wasn't much that happened in the fight up until the finishing sequence, but this this should tell you guys this is a 4-fight finish streak for Jocelyn Edwards. I mean, she is truly coming around to being one of the best in the division. I mean, name the last bantamweight finisher that you've seen. And if you name the ones that you're truly finishers, I mean, they're the greats kind of deal. And 4-fight finish streak, that's something that my guy, like fucking Steve Garcia was doing that 2 fights ago. I mean, listen, Jocelyn Edwards is fucking good, and I'm very excited for her going forward. It's going to be hard for me to say that she's going to get 5 finishes in a row because we're going to get competition raised. She takes on Nora Cornell. She's been very very active. I think it's possible we get the Eileen rematch as well. I mean, she might as well right all the wrongs, cross her dots and T's, whatever you want to say, and maybe Eileen wouldn't push for it because she's a little inactive and she's obviously wanting to have this kind of tailor-made path to get somewhere else. But I think Jocelyn's going to be right on her ass, man. I think she's going to want that rematch before anything happens because in bantamweight, you have to have different goals. You can't just be like, I'm going to go fight Kayla. I'm going to go fight Amanda Nunes. It's just kind of out of your reach at this point. Kayla's got a broken freaking neck with the belt. Amanda's retired. They're waiting for the White House at this point. Nobody in bantamweight really matters. So the belt situation doesn't even, who cares? Just go out there and fight. Just be active. And I think that's what Jocelyn is doing very, very well. Very great representation for Panama. And I will say this, the fact that they call them the Panamanians, it's absolutely amazing. I love it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, as a finisher, we talk about this constantly. Female finishers get the eyes. I mean, it's what sets you apart. And in a light division, not weight wise, but talent wise, at bantamweight for women, you're setting yourself apart in a major way. So I agree. I think the thing that you should do is go out there and stay active, continue doing what you're doing. You're making a name for yourself fight over fight by doing that, and you continue to get finishes, you will continue to have the eyes on you. So yeah, I was to say, I mean, you talk about the Eileen rematch. Where the hell's she been? She's out here trying to sit on the sidelines, waiting for an opportune moment to come back.
Yes, and from what I can tell of her Instagram stories, she is very happy with being an OnlyFans model. And I
Oh,
don't
I'm
even
sure.
say it in a joking way. I mean, I make plenty of money. I'm cool with it. Fuck it. Like,
All
all
right.
right.
Well,
I think
congratulations.
she
Then I
fights
suppose.
next week though. Something like
Ah,
that.
okay, fair enough. Well, either way, yeah. I mean, Jocelyn Edwards. Again, I say she's made a believer out of me after a long time of being, not on her side. I was very skeptical of her at one point. I was saying that she was one of the worst fighters in the division in women's MMA. I was saying for a while there. She has evolved my thought process by performances like this and the previous ones in her last couple of fights. So keep doing what you're doing, and I will stay on the train.
I barely see female finishers in the UFC and even less in bed.
But
Yeah, that was a good one. I appreciate you for the laugh. You obviously you keep these light.
yeah,
But
well,
this next one, oh my gosh, keep it light, guys,
I
on this
was,
next one.
all right. Well, let's move on to it then. Next up is Alden Coria versus Luis Garule. Another one that I don't have a whole hell of a lot to say about the actual fight itself. This was another just really nice performance for Coria. I said that the Josh Van influence is really apparent. He's got slick boxing. He's very fast. I'd say he's like Josh Van Jr. in a lot of ways. The one thing that I saw from him, that I thought was noteworthy is that he's got a really nice smack uppercut that he used a couple of times. I said double and triple up on that if you can find the timing of it, because it was very effective. And as far as the Garule side, sadly to say, I think I was already saying this coming into this fight, but never more apparent than it is now. Garule is just not UFC caliber. He needs to be cut at this point, and that's about it.
I alluded to not all the fights being barn burners and or the most exciting because some of them you just have to sit back and just realize that the you're just watching not good fighters, And so I think Alden Coria is very technical. He's very efficient with his boxing, but I think he's a little too um I don't know. I don't see that he's out here ready to just kill somebody. He's ready for a 3-round pitter patty fight. And unfortunately, he fights a little like that Andre Lima guy, but just not as good. And I think what's crazy is they made the note, and this is what sucks. They made the note that he had been in the gym, at their MMA club 9 years before Josh Van got there. Hang it up, brother.
Really?
You're
Wow.
done. You're done, brother. I mean, your guy walked in 9 years after you, just came in and got the fucking belt. I know you guys
But
are
I mean, he must have
boys.
been like 12 years old or something then, though. I mean,
That's
like,
what I'm telling you. That's what they
I mean,
said.
fair enough, but I'm saying he's only like 21 or he's young. So, I mean, if he was there for 9 years, I mean, yeah, that kind of tracks if he might not have been old enough to compete yet.
Hey, but listen, the point is this guy. I, I'm just not seeing it. Luis Garule is Louise. I'm sorry, Louise Garule is not very good, and Alden Coria proved in this fight that he is also just not as good as maybe he should have been. I mean, we didn't think he was going to be some killer. Obviously, I maybe even gave him the nod that he should be able to knock this dude out if Ode did, but Ode's a lot more powerful. Alden Coria has zero power. I mean, he's all just straight. He's all just slick boxing. Maybe a couple kicks every now and then. But from what I saw, I I'm not thinking this dude's. I think he's here because Josh Van's here. Like, I mean, Josh Van is like, all right, dude, I got this guy that's been here for fucking 9 years, dude. He's a fucking killer. He's 21. I This guy would not be here. I'm not going to say Josh Van is the only reason he's here, but I would not be talking about this guy, and I would not be saying that he's anything. He would just be a normal other fighter if he didn't have any relation to Josh Van. He's just not that good of a flyweight. I mean, you talked about he might be a mini, another version of Josh Van. Brother, this dude landed 96 strikes on a dude who's not very good at striking defense. You know how many strikes Josh Van lands? Like 250. Like, it,
He's young. I'm saying that he's
Josh
got plenty of
Van's young.
well, he's got time to continue on and get himself to that point. I mean, this was a pretty good performance, I thought, all over. I mean, like, in the big picture, I mean, I thought that there was a time where Gurule had gotten a decent slam in the second and Coria turned it into top control. I said, okay, he's got answers for things as well. It's like, it's not always going to be that he's like, I mean, because, okay, what we're kind of ragging on Gurule, and I think rightfully so. But what I will say is that the Gurule didn't make it so that it was like a Phil Rowe kind of performance where he was just a blank canvas. He was trying. I mean, like he was actually actively throwing his own strikes a little bit. Now, granted, nowhere near as much, but 60 significant strikes or 50 significant strikes with 60 total. I mean, he had his own output, so there was stuff that Coria had to contend with. So I mean, like I think that overall, like this was a decent showcase of budding talent, is what I would like to say, to be a little kinder than you're being for whatever reason. You're really going hard on my guy Coria over here.
I mean, I just I just feel bad because like I figure this is just not a dude who fight. Like we've said this before. There's some flyweights that don't fight like they're in the division. Like there's a lot of people who are going to have a different pace than this, who are going to be able to shoot more takedowns. I mean, you look at Alden Coria. I mean, if you match him up with name people, I mean, Brandon Royval, Tatsuro Taira, Horiguchi. I mean, these are the top division guys, yes, but this right here, what I'm seeing, he's going to have to develop more skills. And if he's been there for 9 years training around that system already, Josh Van is different. He came in and he had 6 months of wrestling before he joined the UFC, whatever the case may be. Like you could tell, like he obviously picks shit up quick. But if you've been there 9 years, brother, I know you were amateur, I know you were doing all that, but like I would rightfully assume Carly Judice was in the gym at not 9 years previously before because she's got all this. She looks like she's an experienced level fighter. Yes, he's a very experienced level striker in the fact that he's not taking too many risks. But the fact is, brother, this is flyweight. There's gonna be elite talent coming at you quick. I mean, these guys are very good. They have all the skills in the book. I I I would be hesitant to say that Coria is my guy up next, but 12
Yeah.
and 3, we'll see, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, I think that that's an accurate assessment. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily going to be setting the division on fire immediately or anything like that, but he now has 2 wins in the UFC, one of them being a finish. So he's going to be sticking around. So we'll have to see what the next opponent looks like. You're naming all the top guys in the division, but this guy is probably going to be facing a Libby next. You know what I mean? Like a guy of that level or something along those lines. So we'll have to see if he has trouble with that level of grappling, then now the cracks start to show a little bit more than what we saw here. For this performance, I thought it was fine. Like I said, nothing overly noteworthy, but fine. And Gurule, needs to kind of pack up and find the next thing that he's going to be doing. The next promotion is calling.
Yeah, okay, Jesse. I can agree that I'm listen, I'm not trying to make it sound like the dude's not decent. He did win a fight 30-27, but I'm just saying I've seen flyweights who are knock me off my socks. Lonnie Kavanagh. There's a reason this dude's stepping into a main event. It's not just because he got knocked out last fight. Like, why is he here? It's not just because it's some random fucking thing. Lonnie Kavanagh has so many different skills that you've seen, like just on a whim, and all of his fights so far. And then he gets knocked out. Yeah, but I'm not going to be the one to justify how he gets a main fucking event. But the skills are there. You saw that guy and he left his contender series opponent unconscious for like 7 minutes. He comes into his next fight, he gets all bloody, he goes to some war with the Wily Cat dude. Great things were coming. I mean, this one right here, Louis Garule, I think this should have been the performance that you would have. I know you came in and got a knockout in your first performance. This should have also been a knockout. If you could have knocked out that other dude, Garule is, I mean, chin of granite or not, Ode Osborne was able to do it. It's possible for others to, especially he just came off the shit like last fight. I don't know. Out in Korea, if I'm being harsh, I apologize. But I would like to see some greatness from you. I'm not here to tell you how to get it, but just maybe risk it a little more, bro. Get in there and look at dude. Look at your teammate Josh Van. He's willing to take shots and he'll throw 7 more. You got to just get into the mix and throw flurries, dude. I mean, you're a little too conservative is the word that I'm looking for.
All right. I mean, I can go with that. I do think that, there's a little bit of opening up that he can do over time as well. But I guess my
He's
ultimate
young.
takeaway, yeah, is it's not just that he's young, but he's also young to the organization. So,
True.
if you're just still getting your footing or whatever, if you remember his knockout was later in the fight as well, I believe. Like I don't think that it was a super early knockout in that other one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was either late second or mid third round. So that being said, again,
Third.
third round.
Third, yes.
Yeah, so there you go. It's like he's still kind of figuring it all out. These are the things that, are the building blocks of potentially something better. Maybe he gets a little bit more comfortable under the big lights, also fighting at home as well, a little pressure on him there as well. Grule also fighting like he knew that his contract was on the line, which it certainly is, and probably, unfortunately is going to be terminated thereafter. But that being said, there's still room for improvement, and he now has the opportunity to do that. So good job getting the win, at least here. We'll see what he does in his next fight, and it'll be very dependent on the style of the opponent, I would say.
I actually like the comment up here by Hydra. Garule is truly an amateur king. Yeah, 10-0 in the amateur or in pros or whatever until the UFC, and then nothing more. So
Sometimes it be like that, man. I mean, we've seen that before, and that's where it's really that right there is a big, big reason why whenever we're doing predictions and I say, "Oh, he's just coming off of the contender series, we don't know enough to know yet." That's what I'm talking about. There's so many guys that come into the contender series undefeated, and it's like, okay, that's great that you were able to do that in your home region, multiple little regions around the world, whatever. That's perfectly fine. This is a different animal when you're in the UFC.
absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, let's move on down the line. Someone else who's a little newer to the organization that I just referenced a moment ago. This is Alibi Adiris versus Ode Osborne. I said, how good is Joseph Morales? I said, I thought that surely if Alibi lost to him, Ode could do the job, but big fat nope on that one. Damn it, Ode Osborne, you let your boy down.
This one, I mean, this is part two of You're Not Him. I mean, this is another one of the flyweights where you're watching two guys that have no opportunity to go after the top of the division, I would say. Alibi, dude, he just he's we've seen a lot of people come from these regions that are talented or not even just talented, but they show grit, they show heart, they show something that not listen. I know it's a different region, but Salty Baldiev, he might not be the greatest, but that bro stepped up the heavyweight and fought Martin Boudet. Like what the fuck? Like it's just something on a whim that he did because he's ready for this shit. Alibi comes in here against Ode Osborne and spends 3 rounds doing fucking nothing, bro. He stripped out a lot of the game that made him lose in opportunities when he would like do some, a spin kick or do some crazy shit. When he takes that out of his game, he's completely not entertaining at all, and he's not very good. Ode Osborne does what he does best by being the exact, he's just like slightly worse than all of his opponents necessarily. It's crazy that he is just not able to win rounds sometimes. Like I don't get it. And then he knocks out Louis Garule. It's Alibi is not very good, and I think to answer your point, Fripp, I think Joseph Morales, honestly, he looked like fucking Habib in that fight. So I didn't want to look too deep into it because that dude might be on something. That's somebody that I could say might be on to something if he keeps it up. But Alibi, tough guys. I'm just saying, we cannot have too much hope. I know Joseph Morales. I literally just said he might have something. Alibi though, no, 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 no,
Well,
no, no.
I mean, okay, I think that
And I picked him. I
yeah,
picked him, and he
I mean,
won.
fair, yeah, and like, and I did not, and but I'll still at least give him some praise. I do think that maybe being a little hyperbolic in the sense that he is sticky. I mean, what I said is that he's a Sioux light. You know, he's like another one of these dudes, saying similar region of the world. I think they're actually the same country, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But you know, he gets his hands on you from anywhere, and he just stays actively working to drag you all over the place. Now, it would be nice if he actually could transition that into something that was significant. I definitely agree with that. But he did enough of that to keep Ode from really enacting any of a game plan. Plus, Ode not nearly active enough on his own right throughout any of this. His corner, another time that the corner was saying be first. And I was like, do what they're saying, bro. You know, it's like he needed to not only be first, but he also needed to add volume to it. And it's like, if you have the style that this guy Alibi has, where he's on you from all different angles, and he's one of these dudes that'll find you from across the cage, grab you, and now you're on the other side of the cage. Then it's like you're not like you have to find those opportunities where you have them because you're not going to have a lot of them throughout a fight like that. You know what I mean? Like you have to see the openings and recognize it. Plus, at a weight class like this, where speed is of the essence, you have to use that to your advantage. If this guy is going to be shooting shots from a mile away, you have to turn that into some gold for yourself. If you're letting it all happen, then you're sunk from the beginning, basically. And I just think that Ode didn't have a plan for the speed or the level changing that was going on. Every time that he'd start the striking, Alibi was just on top of him. So
I think the main thing that I had an issue with here with Alibi is for flyweights. You know, we normally get these guys who can do this for 50 minutes. It seems like
and now Chase is the one that drops off at random, but he's back.
back already. So yes,
There we go.
we get people who are in the flyweight the division who can go, they come in and they can fight for days. You know, they have no problem with the cardio. Alibi, on the other hand, and maybe it's because he's cutting a lot of weight, and maybe he's probably a bantamweight at heart. Who knows? But he not gassed out, but he was looking labored a little too early for me. And when it comes to flyweight, I mean, the only other ones that you can think about that gas out like that are Tagir, kind of deal. And he just got choked out by Horiguchi because he was too fat and he wanted to cut all that weight. So, whatever you want to say, I think Alibi. I I mean I don't know. I don't know if I have any redeeming qualities for him after this one. And I know that's harsh because he did win and I did pick him, but he didn't he didn't win emphatically at all. And this was a very snoozer of a performance for me.
I mean, 230-27, so that's not good enough.
No, it's not good enough because I mean, Ode again, he has this ability to just do slightly less than the opponent. Ode did nothing in this fight. Like that's the problem. And Alibi, listen, I don't know. I've been high on a lot of flyweights. Listen, the one flyweight that I was really high on is now the champ. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say that Alibi's not gonna be top of the division.
I
That's what I
mean,
would go with.
Chase and his eye for talent over here has spoken. So I think that there is something to be said for the ability to control the way that he was controlling. I do think that there is a little bit more of a well-roundedness, that kind of what Jesse was talking about in the chat. There's a little bit well-roundedness, not enough though. You know what I mean? Like I would say that, yeah, that you could see that there's the formative elements of it perhaps, but you're in the most competitive division, dude. You're in a division that like you have to be that cut above, and both of these guys showing that they're really not of that caliber. So, you know,
Jesse, Alibi is very well rounded. That's the difference maker. I agree that I could see a well rounded fighter, but the problem is we're not seeing any dominant level to his game. Like what is Alibi dominant at? Is he a grappler? Because he's been a striker up until this fight. So what's really the case? And when he was grappling, he was looking tired after it. When he was striking, he was still looking tired, and he wasn't able to do all the creative stuff anymore. And he didn't risk it for those moments. Like I feel like what I saw before I could justify, but now it's like he's stripping away the parts that are making his game unique, and now he's just a guy that holds you against the cage and takes you down occasionally. Like, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
maybe other people are seeing other things, but I would like to see more for me to be like, that's a guy that you can never go wrong picking.
True. Yeah, fair enough. One thing I did think he was good at was that, his counter shot takedown was very effective. That again, it goes back to the speed difference. So, I mean, I think that if I had something at least to be a little bit more positive about, I think that the takedown plus the speed was definitely working for him in this fight. Will it be there as effectively against higher level opponents than Osborne? Big if on that one.
And then since the chat mentioned it, we got to do a, my name Borat. Wait, is that a good one? Is that a good one? All right,
My wife. All right.
all right.
Anyway, anything else on this fight?
No, this one, another snoozer, but obviously I had a good time just enjoying the fact that you guys ain't going nowhere for me, brother. So
Yeah, true. Fair enough. All right. Well, if that fight wasn't good enough for you, this one certainly should be. This was Chidi and Njokuani versus Carlos Leal. No fight of the night for this fight. Kind of ridiculous, I would say, especially for the fact that they did not give out a fight of the night, period, from what I understand. You mean to tell me that this was not worthy of a fight of the night bonus when no other fight got it, period? Like that this, that you'd rather have no bonus whatsoever than give this the fight of the night. It seems a
mhm.
little strange to me.
This one, yeah, this one definitely was very good. I fight of the night, yeah, probably, yeah, probably. But what I will say, this is not how I thought it was going to go. I thought we were going to get a finish. I thought it was going to be a quick finish because Chidi has been finished before on the feet, and he does take a lot of shots. In this fight, it does show it. But the difference is, and I've brought this up before, like Vegas sometimes knows how the fights are going to go because you have a fighter who actually tucks behind a guard, and then you have a fighter who just leaves their chin wide open in the fucking air. Carlos Leal is one of these dudes that just has their head on a swivel where if you chin him, all he does is snap his head back and he's just still back in your face. There's no reaction to it. His hands are down by his waist kind of deal. He's just out in front. He's ready to slug. And he does it well for 3 rounds. And I'm glad he put on this performance because this was the people forgot, man. This dude came in on short notice, did this to a premier guy and got robbed. And then, he has to go against Muslim Salikov and that's fine. But this performance right here, listen, I know I said it in the podcast last week that if these guys go to decision, get them out of here. But that is false. Don't do it because look, there's a difference between going to decision because you're boring and lazy and you don't want to actually fight each other, or there's 3 rounds where you're trying to actually kill each other, but neither of you are going to go down. Chidi and Njokuani did get a little clipped earlier on in the fight, if I'm not mistaken, but for the most part, these dudes were just in each other's faces and they were throwing lethal strikes. Chidi has this game. I was thinking about it on the way home, like, how do I describe it? Because it's not a counter striking game, but he does, in a sense, bait you into thinking that you're all up in his face and I'm getting these shots off, but then elbows and knees come. Like it's a different type of game that he has. The way that he started this fight was very interesting because he started out just spamming kicks. He just spam low kick, deep kick. He was trying to keep Carlos Leal at range, but the problem was that was expelling way too much energy. You were obviously not going to be able to do that for the entirety of the fight. So that was a weird way to just like get him off his rhythm, I guess. I don't know if that maybe they had a plan. We're going to do this longer, but as soon as he did that, he spammed like 15 kicks in a row, and it looked like it was going to take a lot of energy for him to do that the entire fight. But the fact is, when the fight got going and these dudes were in each other's faces, and you had Carlos Leal's eyes bug wide open, like just focused on Chidi, and Chidi not really giving a shit. Like this dude truly is game. I know for a dude who's been finished, I think I said 5 times on the feet, he was ready for 6, and he was ready to give Carlos Leal a finish on his record too. So don't cut him. Obviously, it wasn't going to happen, but these guys fought like a finish was going to happen, and that's what I need. I don't need, passivity. I don't need people who are going to sit at range and not throw strikes that are going to take each other's heads off because I'm paying a Paramount Plus subscription now. So I need my Paramount Plus Excelsior package. Like, I need you guys to come out here and try to kill each other. So thank you very much. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the main notes that I have from this when it comes to Carlos Leal, and of course we're going to talk about the main event. Carlos Leal did what I wish that Fluffy had done, which Carlos Leal got past kicking range and was throwing a hailstorm of strikes when he did that. Chidi let himself get backed up to the cage a lot. That Carlos was bread and butter on that one. He, just saying, okay, if you're going to go back, I'm going to go forward. He really never took a step back. It's like you were saying, he'll take the shot and, he'll eat it, he'll acknowledge it, and he will continue on forward. And also, I mean, like the size difference so noticeable in this too. I don't know if maybe I was misremembering or like had a different impression or what it was, but Chidi, huge for welterweight. Leal looked noticeably small in this fight. To the point where on the commentary on the watch along, I thought that he might have moved down in weight for this fight. I was wrong about that, but like I don't know. Again, maybe it was just a different perception of his previous fights or whatever, just the composition of his upper body. But like you see the difference between the two of these guys, and the fact that Leal not acknowledging any of that, no fear in him whatsoever, forward motion the entirety of this fight. Even when he was taking, Chidi started this fight out with kicks in bunches. I mean, like the kicks were actually going really well for Chidi early on because he was past kick, or he was at kicking range, like Leal was beyond it. So he was throwing those teeps and they were working, and he kept spamming those a little bit. All good for him. He was making that work. Leal did the exact right thing. He got past that and said, I don't care if you're going to hit me. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the range that I want to be at so that I can land my shots. And I thought that was fantastic. I thought this was a really tough fight between these two guys. I thought that Leal getting the nod was correct. Chidi, again, letting himself kind of get back down, not taking command of the space, because that's the problem with the style like what Chidi has. When it's like you said, it's not exactly like a full-on counter striker style, but it's like this kind of dance that he does. If he's not able to make that his fight with that, then all it really looks like is you got backed up for a lot of this fight. And we've seen that from him a lot of times at this point. And it's an unfortunate thing because I think he's very good at it when he's able to get that in his favor. But when it's not, when it's a fight like this, where Leal is doing what he does, it kind of gives the impression that you're doing worse than maybe you actually are. Like, you see the numbers are actually really close in this fight as far as the strikes go. It's optics really at the end of the day. If your back is to the cage for a lot of the fight, it makes sense that they're going to think the other guy is winning a lot of that time. So, fine decision in all of this. The one thing, and I don't know if that's what's coming in the chat, I don't think it is, but I did have to say here, this dude, referee Kerry Hatley. Okay, this is the first of two very glaring issues over here, but third round, Leal goes down to a knee for a moment. That's a downed opponent. If you're not familiar with that term, his knee is on the ground. That means that he is down. He should not be able to be hit to the head with a kick. Chidi kicks him in the head. Clear, illegal shot. Both fighters freeze for a second. They're like, oh shit. Chidi even himself, he was just like, oh, like I knew he fucked up. Referee doesn't do anything. He was looking right at it. Then Leal is like, oh, no, don't stop it, whatever. And then so he just kind of goes, okay, yeah, keep fighting. Like, it's like, yeah, I understand Leal didn't want to break the momentum himself, but the referee wasn't going to do shit either way. Kerry Hatley, you were looking at an illegal strike in front of your face as if you were seeing it on a screen, and we're not going to do anything about it. What is this? What are we okay with this? We're just going to let this go by?
Yeah, this one definitely isn't the moment that I would talk about Kerry Hatley, and we're gonna save that for a little later. But I do
This is
remember
an
this.
appetizer right here.
Yeah, this one was pretty funny. I remember because he just wasn't gonna do shit about it. Carlos Leal was gonna take that shot, but then he didn't want to start. He's locked in, bro. If you look at that dude's face, he's locked in. I thought this comment from Hydra is amazing. Leal got hit with the shrink ray. That is very funny. But no,
funny.
When you watch Carlos Leal in this fight, I mean, he kind of looked, and I know obviously this dude that I'm going to compare him to knocks people out and they don't fucking move, but the way that he fought right here, the way the movement, it looked like Alex Pereira. It looked just like this in this fight. I really liked Carlos Leal. I think this was a great performance. And obviously it was a big moment for him because if you saw in the moment that he won, he burst into tears.
Oh, very emotional, yeah.
Well, when you take your first knockout as a pro athlete or whatever, you've gone 23-6, and then you get knocked out for the first time in your life, it's probably a big question. Like, am I still able to do this? Is my career over now? This 40-year-old man just did it to me. He comes back, gets a performance like this, is able to go to war. Like, he should have no doubt in his mind, like, oh, if I took those shots from that fucking guy, like, I'm good, kind of deal. Because dude, Cheaty was Cheaty's good, guys, and I hate to say it because, unfortunately, the record is creeping up to where it's not. I mean, 25-12 isn't terrible, of course, but he hasn't won many that I've seen. Unfortunately, he got subbed in the first 15 seconds in his last one, but this one right here was a perfect performance. For Carlos Leo and Cheaty, honestly, unanimous decision doesn't tell the whole story. I've said this before. I hate the fact that we have unanimous and split the way that it's set up, because fights that are truly close and razor thin, that will never be told because one dude actually edged out every single round kind of deal.
Right.
So it's unfortunate, but the real ones will remember that Cheaty put up a really good performance here.
Yeah, no, I definitely, and really, I think that that's a good takeaway from this is that Chidi showed that there is still real value to him, and exactly why he is 25-12. Like you don't get a record like that without having like inherent skill and value. So a fight like that's again another reason why I think that this really did deserve a fight of the night or some type of bonus of some sort, some type of recognition for the exactly what you're talking about. We talk about this a lot where it's like the numbers on the piece of paper at the end of the day, really what it boils down to, a win or a loss. This is going to go down as a loss for Cheaty, but does it deserve to be remembered like the loss where what you're talking about where he got subbed early? Like, no, of course not. It doesn't. So like, it's unfortunate with the way that like the sport works, but as you say, this is why you watch last week's fight so that we can talk about it in depth and you remember the actual facts of the fight.
Absolutely.
So good fight overall. I really, like I said, really wish that they could have given him something for this. And I think they deserved it based on, especially for the fact that what we talked about with the rest of this card, this was certainly the best like competition of the card, I would say,
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that rounds out the prelims. Let's go on to the main card here. This was a fucking goofy one. This is Zachary Reese versus Michelle Pajeda. I mean, I got to say, justice for my guy, Zachary Reese over here, brother. I mean, robbing this dude in his hometown is nasty work. And this dude, Michelle Pajeda, having the nerve to break dance before the fight when he only has one round of cardio is absolutely scandalous coming into this thing.
I don't mind this decision, and I'll tell you why. Because one, not much happened in this fight that was good. The thing that did happen though is Zachary's face was beaten, so it wasn't beaten up so bad, but it was touched in the right parts where his face was turning purple, and it was kind of unsettling as the viewer to see, like, his face isn't bruising, it's like a blood vessel has popped in his fucking
Oh no,
face.
you're absolutely right. I had in the notes a large reason why this went the way that it went is because Zachary Reese's complexion defied him. It really was. He was betrayed by his own genetic makeup in this fight, and that is a very unfortunate thing because he is very white, and that it's a fact of nature, unfortunately. Like you see it early on in the fights when guys are starting to, you see it on the body a lot as well, where they're taking shots to to the arms, they'll start getting welts and redness and all that kind of stuff. That's for a lot of fighters who are of different complexions. It's not as noticeable. Zachary Reese, unfortunately, with his ethnicity, he wears the damage tremendously poorly. And you're right. I mean, his face, it was like he was wearing the mask. I mean, he really had, that it was the entirety of under his whole cheek, basically from the eye all the way down to his mouth in a big sweeping motion was just all black, blue, purple. I mean, it really was bad, but it didn't seem like it was that much damage that actually did it was the problem.
Right, and that's unfortunate because this fight, I mean, I can't tell you the shots that Michelle landed that did that to his face. That's the craziest part because nothing that Michelle did was even, I mean, I've seen him do a lot of crazy stuff that has made him memorable to me. He did not once do anything that made Michelle Pereira Michelle, and then he conservatively, made the fight go to decision. It's like he was trying so hard to prove to us that, like, oh yeah, I can fucking do it, but like, you're supposed to be this first round killing machine, at least that you've been before you got fraud checked for your cardio kind of deal. And then obviously with Kyle Dawkins or whatever, I, I did not think that this was the wrong decision, but honestly, they could have. they could have gave Zach. I don't know. His face was jacked, bro. I don't know. Like
Dude,
it's
it
just
is.
crazy to think.
It's all optics though, bro. I'm telling you, especially upon the rewatch. I thought it was a robbery in the moment. Going back and rewatching it, this absolutely was, in my opinion, man. I mean, like, so round one is the round where you could say, okay, he did drop him. I mean, now granted, Michelle had the fist going forward and Reese was off balance, but it did connect. So you can say, look, he got the drop in the first round. You give him that first round. I was like, okay, it's at least 1-1 going into the third. Both guys were kind of faded in the third round, whatever. Like, I will say that, but it was Reese who was pushing the pace of all of this. I would say you're right. Michelle conserved enough to make it to the horn. So, moral victory for him on that one. But Zach was way better with the striking all the way through this thing. I say that this was clearly his fight. It really was the optics of his face that really pushed the judges over the edge, I would think, which is unfortunate. And also even made more unfortunate by the fact that in that first round, even with the drop, Michelle taking two little acting breaks for himself with those fouls, quote unquote. I mean, not once but twice, saying that low blows landed when at least one of them definitely did not hit the button.
Yeah, and then it's always really funny when these happen, especially because, they do the replay and then you hear the crowd go, "Oh," and then they still give them time. It's like, "No, no, no. You're good. Don't worry about it. No, you're good. We got it figured out. We already broke it up. You might as well just take your fucking time now, Michelle." So yeah, he definitely, and I think Hydra even said that just a minute ago. What did they say? You had, both looked horrible. Pereira was faking fouls so often to gas out every 3 minutes. Yeah,
Right.
crazy
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, no, there's really not much else to talk about. This wasn't a very good performance on either one of their parts. I think if Michelle, I mean, I'm not gonna say either one of them could have made the fight better than what it was. The fight was what it was, unfortunately. And Zach Reese, I've said this before. I've seen you fight a handful of times. And in my personal opinion, I don't remember you winning a lot of them convincingly. I remember you got slammed on your head. I remember you got almost beat by Jackson McVeigh in the first round. And then now here you are losing split decision to Michelle Pereira. So going forward, I mean, there's just not much for me to say, man. Not gonna lie.
I just feel really bad for this guy in the sense that if it really is about the optics and that is how this got to where it got to, that's something you're going to have to deal with for your entire career, brother. There's really not too much you can do about that. I mean, I don't that maybe I'm not 100% caught up on if there is any kind of conditioning you can do to make it so that you don't wear damage that badly as he did, but I would assume that there is not. That's just one of those things that's going to be kind of the go forward for you. You just have to know that, if your face gets busted. Now, granted, I mean, he did. I do think that his nose got broken in this fight, so that probably played a factor in all of this as well. You just got to be protecting your face a lot more than that. I guess it's the only thing I can think of. What else can you really do? I mean, it's like, if this is how your body reacts to getting punched in the face and your job is to get punched in the face, this is what it's going to get. And again, I say that with the full personal belief that he did the better damage. And I know that that sounds crazy because of how it looked when it came to what he was wearing, but if you're strictly judging off of the body's reaction to it, I think that's only part of the story when it comes to the overall damage that is done. Now, granted, Michelle probably should have been wearing a lot more himself, and that plays again into the optics of it, but it just kind of is what it is at the end of the day, dude. You just got to be aware that you're going to be fighting an uphill battle every fight now, not only with your opponent, but with your physiology, with how your body reacts.
Yeah, this one once again, just not the best one, but once when you're watching it, you're watching a spectacle. You're watching two dudes who have the ability to end fights very very quickly if they really step on the gas. And then you have these times where it's two of those, two car crash type personalities. When they meet, you get a boring decision. I Sometimes it happens. You can't predict it.
You think this was really a boring fight overall?
It it wasn't great. I wasn't, rooting out my chair, when Zach Reese pointed to the ground at the end of the fight and they didn't do it, I was like, "All right,
True.
that's about it. That's about
Yeah.
all you could fucking ask for."
Fair. All right. Well, all of the theatrics and goofiness aside, I guess shout out to Michelle Pajeda. He lives to fight another day. We'll see if he lives to breathe another 3 rounds.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, if that one wasn't exciting, perhaps this one was a little bit more in the exciting category for multiple reasons. This is Jacoby Smith versus Josiah Harrell. Kerry Hatley really wanted to see a dead body on this one. Of course, I said the other incident with Kerry Hatley with the illegal kick, certainly a palate wetter. You know, there's an appetite whetting situation here for the main course being this fight. And God, do I feel for this guy, Josiah Harrell, coming in after brain surgery. They showed that the promo clips on the pre-fight show of the side of his head with all the stitches and, you know, a very compelling story with this guy, only for him to come in and get absolutely annihilated and take a whole hell of a lot of shots that he really should not have had to have taken.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this one, not much to say going into it because you have somebody on short notice who probably shouldn't have been in this position, due to circumstances, whatever you would like to say. Jacoby Smith, you may have your own opinion about him. I'll slowly give you mine as we continue going through this, but the fight was very, very quick. Jacoby Smith got to show off his wrestling a little bit. He's obviously a very good wrestler. One thing that he did show is that when he gets somebody down and he's looking to end the fight, he does have the instinct to turn the kill switch on. But the problem is and you can kind of get this in his post fight speech. This dude's he's kind of a shit person. I don't know. The way that he talks and the way that he did not stop hitting, bro. It's one thing because obviously you're waiting for the ref to pull, you got to finish the fight. The ref was pulling him off and he continued to fucking hit this dude. But it's not only the fact, but you could tell. So he had the dude down. You could tell, just like a fucking X marks the spot, that scar on the side of this dude's head. Jacoby Smith was aiming for that shit, dude. Like he was like, and I'm not even
No.
trying to be like that, but like he truly he's kind of fucked up. And then in his post fight speech, he's just got this attitude, and I've read this before. I clocked this a while ago. Jacoby Smith, this is a little too cocky for me because we've seen him gas out against Nico Price. The gas tank wasn't necessarily there. For him to be thinking that he's the man. Cool, it's Nico Price. We just saw him get folded by a fucking random guy from the mountains. Now you come in here and you take a dude on short notice, you give him a brain bleed probably, and now you're gonna continue thinking that you're the fucking shit. Like I'm, blah 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 blah. Kevin Holland, this. I'm not buying it yet. 12-0. But even if I picked you, that does not mean that I'm sitting here thinking that you're the man on top of the earth because it takes one Jordan Leviat performance for everybody to say, "Oh yeah, you fucking suck, brother. Like you fucking suck." Like if somebody comes in here and actually beats you for 3 rounds and there ain't nothing that you could do to stop it, it's going to just expose you and it's going to look worse when you act this way. But unfortunately, I think the Jacoby Smith, my dad is one of the main people that is always like, "Oh, he shouldn't have kept hitting him." He knew he was out, kind of deal. And like I know, you got to wait till the ref stops you. If you're falling and you're throwing a fucking whatever. This one right here, no, he definitely didn't stop hitting, bro. He definitely was a little sinister here.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that as well. You know, after, I mean, Hatley, fucking, you know, taking his sweet time to actually get to the point of stopping the fight. So that was unfortunate to begin with. But you are right. Once he finally was there, bro, you can feel an extra set of hands, or the only set of hands, of course, on your back pushing you off, and you're still hammering. It's like, all right, dude. I mean, and the commentary was even saying, oh, you know, he's just doing his job. Blah, blah. It's like, I mean, there's a little bit of a line where, you know, it's quite obvious that that this is a corpse at this point. I mean, this dude is not there. There's no threat coming back at you, and the referee is trying to push you off. That's why Kerry Hatley had to, like, you know, he like rolled him off like double. He double pushed him. You know, he kind of gave him a little bit of an extra shove there. I mean, I can understand that aspect of things because of how like hard he was going unnecessarily at the end point, but that's also after 5, 6 unanswered shots to begin with. So yeah, not the greatest look on that one. But his personality kind of reminds me a little bit of Chris Curtis, and not in a good way. And I mean, like, now, granted, Curtis is a little bit more trolly and a little bit more wily than him, perhaps, but I think that the cockiness level, and I think that what we'll end up getting if he ends up losing, could be similar to Chris Curtis.
I'm getting Tyron Woodley vibes, is what I'm getting out of him.
I could see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
But this one, Listen, I actually think, when it goes to the point of Kerry Hatley, him having to shove this dude off kind of deal, I think this speaks to the point where we maybe need to not have people who are frail old men be the refs anymore. Like Big Dan, nobody fucks around on him, kind of deal. When it comes to Mark Goddard, nobody fucks around on them. Herb Dean, he's getting a little older. People can fuck around on his watch. They continue to do it. We need an imposing figure who's going to actually be able to like shove these dudes off and stop the fight. Because like Kerry Hatley shouldn't have to like push him and be like, "Whoa, dude, what are you doing?" And then have to like, get the fucking fight over with, dude. Like, get on your fucking horse.
Well, I mean,
Maybe go
yeah,
ahead.
he should have. I'm sorry, he just should have slid his body in between him. And now, granted, I understand the guy is hammering away, so it's like, yeah, you don't want to take any damage yourself, and he shouldn't have to. But that is what you do. He went and double handed his back.
Yeah.
No, what you need to do is forcibly put yourself in front of the action. You need to put yourself between the opponents to stop the action. That's how you stop what was happening there. Really, instead of pushing him with his hands, he should have been pushing him with his back. You know what I'm saying?
And Jesse, to be fair, you're probably right. Big Dan is probably one of the worst, but it was the first one that I could think of that came to my mind. I can't think of all of them. Dan Mergliotti. What's the other one? Some other people. Yeah. Anyway,
Even Chris Tyone, who's a little bit advanced age, would have gotten in there, and backed him off. You know what I
okay,
mean?
fair.
Like, I would think so. That's, I think, where he really went wrong on that one. But again, it doesn't. It's not even about that part of it. To me, it's about the recognition of the fight being over, and you should have been in position to make the stoppage happen earlier. Like, he was, if you remember the position that he started off at, they were on one side, and almost the camera's looking at it. So they're like, in front of us where the camera's looking front on, and he's behind that. He had to come around the side, like 3 steps from where he was, over around the side, and then do the push. 5 shots happen in that time. I mean, and you saw the way that Jacoby Smith was hammering away. It's like, bro, you need to have quicker reflexes to get in between that. That is your job at the end of the day. Like, and I try to be very, give these guys a lot of leeway, because it is a tough job with split second decisions that need to be made. But that is the job, is to make those decisions and get yourself there as quickly as possible, so these guys aren't taking unnecessary damage.
I would like to also say that I feel like we as the consumers should have understood that this was a person who had brain surgery, and for him to be knocked unconscious directly in the spot where there's a big old scar on the side of his head, I didn't love it, but should we? I don't know. It seems a little bit of a compromised position for the fighter, if you ask me. But whatevs.
I mean, look, he got cleared to fight. He wanted to take the fight. He had been booked in the UFC prior to the surgery, and that got derailed. I can't be mad at him for continuing on trying to follow his dream. We're gonna have to see how and if he's able to come back after something like this. Really, an unfortunate way. This is a trial by fire to an extent, to see, it's like, look, if you can take that much damage after what you've gone through, and you're still okay, and you still want to do this after that, then that's going to be his choice thereafter. But things like this is the sport. What do you, I mean, there are plenty of other sports that you can play that you don't get punched in the side of the head, but this is the sport where you do. So
The last thing I'll note is that the medical staff completely failed Josiah Harrell, because when the fight was over and he's laying there unconscious, they just let him get up. They just tried. They were just basically wondering if he could. He basically got to his knees and then he falls flat on his fucking face again. It's like, why are you not stepping in here? You clearly just watched what happened, and now you have your gloves on. You have surgical gloves on, and you're doing nothing. You're not touching anybody with the shit. You're watching the unconscious man fall again back down to his fucking face because you don't want to stop him and say, "Don't get up, don't move." So it was unfortunate to see.
yeah, not great. Not a great look for a lot of reasons, this one. And yeah, I mean, as you said, just Jacoby Smith here now, kind of another notch on the belt, even though this one does kind of feel like not necessarily the greatest of achievements in the big picture based on what we're talking about. A win's a win's a win, another win on the record of an undefeated fighter. So I guess you really can't be too mad at that. But just kind of like, there's a lot of like, we just went through it all. It's like you can go through like every touch point that we just laid out, and it's just like you kind of get an icky feeling after all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So kind of shitty with that. And really, I guess the last thing that I would say is I really do hope that Josiah Harrell is okay after all of that. We got to get an update to make sure that he doesn't have any further damage. Hopefully, nothing happened internally with that.
True.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next one here. This is Sergey Spivak on Ante Delia. This fucking guy, Ante Delia, he puts everything he has into round one two times in his first two fights in the UFC, then decides to play it safe with Sergey Spivak of all people. Why did he
Yep.
do this, Chase? Why did he screw me?
I do not know what this was about, but I genuinely do want to give credit to Sergey Spivak. He came in with potentially listen, if he did not know that Ante Delia couldn't knock him out, I mean, this possibly could have been the worst game plan ever. You walk in and you decide to strike with the dude who's knocking people out, you know. He didn't knock him out. Sergey Spivak had a lot of confidence in his striking. Actually looked pretty damn good. Um, the takedowns, that's the one thing that I would say I got worried about is the striking was fine. It was close enough in the first. I think we didn't get a takedown shot until maybe the second round, or maybe it was midway through the first. But excuse me, D'Elia defended it very well. And I thought, oof, now we're actually screwed because if he doesn't get him down, I mean, no way we're going to just single handedly outbox this dude for 3 rounds. And you know what happened? He outboxed that dude for 3 fucking rounds, left that dude's face butchered. And D'Elia had the fucking nerve to get mad at the decision. Like, brother, you just let this dude whoop you across the ring for the cage for 3 rounds, and you had nothing to do to stop it. You know, there was there was a moment where he landed a big shot in a big flurry, and you saw Spivak cover up, and he finally, worked his way through it. But what the hell? How do you let Spivak off the hook right there? Did he think he was going to get it again? Like I don't know what was happening here, but Spivak very, very impressive. Not my favorite performance because again, that was a lot of confidence to stand with a dude who's knocking people out. Like it's not necessarily that you had the best method to win, in my opinion. I mean, it worked, but if it didn't, you would have just got flatlined in the first round, kind of deal. You were willing to let that happen, and that's credit to you. You went in here and you got that dub. You were willing to risk it for the biscuit. I love that, but very scary performance for you to willingly take all these shots, and I'm glad that you got it done. 30-27 on the feet for the polar bear. Go ahead, Thinker St. James.
I mean, dude, like what you just touched on a moment ago is really, I think, what has me the most angry about this fight than anything else is when in the second round, D'Elia finally starts to look like himself. That whole first round. Now, granted, I'm not trying to take anything away from Sergey Spivak because what you said is correct. I mean, he obviously he has fairly decent heavyweight striking without like the express intent for a knockout is how I would describe it. You know, he's got his boxing is good enough to be serviceable to do what he did in this fight. Definitely fine. Obviously, grappling is going to be his strong suit, but he chose to strike through a lot of this, and that's very commendable. The one time that D'Elia finally starts to look like himself, he's landing a big flurry. He decides to go into the clinch, not the other way around. It wasn't Sergey Spivak who grabbed onto him. He grabs onto Sergey Spivak. I was like, I assumed that he gassed himself out momentarily, but either way, brother, what the actual fuck? If you had that in you in round two, why did you not have that in you in round one? Where was it the same way that it was there for you the other two fights that you had in the UFC? I do not understand what the disconnect was in this fight, especially if it was there in the second round. So loses that opportunity, just sells that down the river, and then allows Spivak to just continue doing all of what he had been doing. Plus, in the third round, Spivak does finally wrestle a little bit. And basically at that point, just to show that he still could. You know, I just whipped you on the feet for 2 rounds, take you to the ground a little bit just to show you that I'm better than you there too. And now you have been beaten by a middle of the pack heavyweight when you were supposed to be a guy coming in with some actual hype.
Yeah, if anybody needs a reminder, Tom Aspinall said he would vacate his belt so Ante Delia could have it if he got to the title picture. And hate to break it to you guys, that ain't happening. Sergey Spivak came out here, and you talked about he has solid skills with the boxing. Like I agree, it's not threatening that you're gonna get finished, but he's got his hands up. He can pop a jab and he can throw a good combination. You know, whatever the case may be, he is a very skilled all around heavyweight. I mean, you
Right.
look at Waldo Cortez Acosta. I know this. I'm pretty sure they fought and we all forgot about it, but that's a very all-around heavyweight, and Spivak is also somebody who has the skills that are all around the board. We've been waiting for prospects to come in here that have these skills, but like the people that are here, they're shaping out to be what we've been looking for. Spivak is a very grapple heavy guy before, but if he comes in here and has the confidence and doesn't get chinned, I like it, with the grappling in his backpack. That's very fun. But I I would just hope that he's not going to stand and strike with any more. I would just hope that people he gave them the idea that he would if he could if he would, kind of deal. So
Yeah.
just shoot it. Just shoot next time.
Yeah, so he can hang. You know what I mean? That I think if that was the goal was to show that you can hang, then you definitely accomplished that. And
Yeah,
I mean, I think that like you said, this is a performance that reminds people a little bit of that because I do think that he gets the reputation deservedly so. I would say being kind of a middle of the pack guy. It's like okay, but he's in the middle of the pack for the reason. You know what I mean? There is a reason to that. He can hang and he will hang, and like you said, his strength will be on the ground, so he probably should do that. But now the heavyweights should be on notice, at least to an extent. He is somebody that if you think you're going to go in there and be able to just,
absolutely.
muscle it.
Absolutely. I think we are. Oh, there we go. Okay, you were cutting out for a second for
Oh,
me. I
sorry.
thought we were going to lose you again. But
Oh,
okay,
gosh. No,
absolutely.
yeah. Just saying that, it's like if you think that you're going to go in there and just walk all over him, that's not going to be the case.
True. I do like it. Spivak is formidable, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and just really, I think I'm just more frustrated with Dalia in this one than anything. But I guess what was I supposed to expect? I suppose I think maybe it's my fault for even having any faith in it in the first place. I just throw the faith out the window is what I took away from this card in a lot of ways.
True, 100%.
And the only other thing I did want to mention, of course, is that Spivak did dedicate this fight to his father, who passed away. So rest in peace to his father.
I hate to bring it up now because you kind of, you brought up a really a moment that I shouldn't make a joke after, but I have never heard Sergey Spivak until that post-fight speech. His
True.
voice does not match at all. I have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, it's a very specific Moldovan accent.
Well, it's not even just the accent. I mean, it's the tone of voice. He's got a very high pitched voice for such a large man.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So, well, fair enough then. Either way, shout out to Sergey Spivak, and now, I mean, a fundamental reevaluation of Ante Dalia is in order for me, as all of these fights are vetting processes through and through, and now I'm just like, what am I supposed to think going into the next fight with him? I don't know what
Yeah,
you take away from this as far as like what you can expect going forward.
probably give him Pavlovich. Fuck it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, honestly. I mean, he might be able to get himself back into first round form because really, I think that the last thing I'll say, this is the very last thing I'll say about this. What I said coming into this fight about Dalia, I think does ring true to an extent, even still. He is an old school heavyweight in the sense that he can get the job done if he is emphatic in the first round, swinging for the fences, doing the old school brawl and then gas out if it goes farther than that. For whatever reason, he just chose not to be that guy in this fight, and this was the outcome, which it would have been the outcome for a lot of the old school heavyweights. So, should he go back to the original game plan, which is go in there and get the knockout and call it a day, then maybe there's something for him going forward. If he has this more measured approach going forward for whatever dumb reason he had in this fight, you're going to get dumb results.
Yeah, if you can't knock out Spivak, I mean, it's done, brother.
When you almost had it, when you
Yeah,
almost had it. Again, I'm no crash outs on this one, but it's crash out worthy to me because it's like you really had it in your hand and then just let it fly.
yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to an actual finished knockout coming up here. I'm sure you're very happy about this one. This is Dan Ige versus Melchizael Costa. Dan Ige suffering the first knockout of his career. Maybe a little bit of an early stoppage, but yeah, still, goes down in the record books. What did you think?
I have also heard people. I mean, well, listen. Melly Costa came out here and did exactly what nobody thought he could do, and that should just tell you how special he is. There's people who finish and you never thought they were going to, and there was never a way in the world that they could. 9 times out of 10 this happens, but the 10th time Melly Costa catches him with a kick. And what's impressive about this? The most impressive thing about this kick is so Melky is circling, and he's fading to his left. So for him to throw the spin kick, Dan Ige presumably blocks down, thinking he would spin towards the way his momentum is going, because I'm circling this way. But Melky actually spins the other way, so when Dan ducks for the fucking kick on the right, it comes from the other way and obviously smashes him in the fucking face. It was heel to cheekbone, 100%, nose break and all. It was very reminiscent of what Max Holloway did to Justin Gaethje at the end of the first round in their fight, broke his nose. It just came from the other angle. And Melky obviously did some studying, I guess, because at the end of the first round in this fight, catches him with the kick, puts Dan Ige down. Yes, some people would say this is a little bit of an early stoppage. Dan Ige was even saying that the stoppage was a little. Guys, I don't know if you saw how his nose was. It was completely fucking shattered. I mean, it was flat. Like it was. You could see that there was a break in his fucking face, and his eye was completely swollen shut after that point. I mean, I know Melky didn't look like he had the most vicious ground and pound, but it wasn't to go fucking kill Dan Ige. It was like, all right, we got it. Let's just get him out of here, kind of deal. And that's exactly what worked. There was no reason to inflict more damage to Dan Ige. I mean, we've seen him go through war and we've seen him come back from shots, but guys, this shot, he might have a broken orbital. I mean, we know the nose is broke, but the orbital might be broke. His fucking eye was swollen shut instantly. And he's such a Chad that he even stood there after the fact to watch Melky get his hand raised, kind of deal. Like, I feel bad, but I even said it last week that in my lifetime, I would never see Dan Ige get finished. But what I would love to say, the person that finished Dan Ige, I could not have been more happy. This is truly one of the more special athletes, and this caps it off right here. And to tell you how special he is, how many times are you seeing people come out here and get a win and they call out some fucking loser? They call out some fucking bum that they know they can beat. You know who Melky calls out? Diego fucking Lopez. Like, and if it not an easy fight, it is a banger at most, and this is a very, very good matchup, and I really love it. I know it's higher out the ranks than what you want it to be, but Melky, truly, I think he is one of the more special athletes we have right now. I've been advocating for the Vitiligo King for a while now, and if you are not listening, please tell me that you have heard my cries out now.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think that this is a this you're seeing exactly we talk about this a lot when it comes to why every card matters, why we watch every week. This is how the sport like operates. The sport moves very slowly and very fast at the same time. What you are seeing is the progression of a fighter from beginning on out when we just were first finding out about this guy. Oh, he's got this new guy coming in with vitiligo. He's winning a couple of fights, and now he's in the rankings. This guy is a player in the game now after finishing a person who had never been finished before. That is why you watch every week. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That is why you follow the sport as closely as you do if you are a fan to the extent that we are. Is be for fighters exactly like this. You're watching a dude who is systematically working his way up, 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 now in the rankings, after taking out a guy who'd never been finished before, calling for an even bigger guy up the ladder, and could end up getting that fight at some point, perhaps. I mean, I don't know if they're actually going to make that one or whatever, but we'll see about that part. What's up?
The funny thing about that is Melky calls him out. They show Diego Lopez in the crowd. He's giving thumbs up, kind of deal. This dude has two broken feet right now, guys.
Right. It might take a little while for that to actually happen for that reason. But that being said, I mean, this really was yet another big notch in the belt that is now continuing to rack up notches. One thing that I noticed early in the fight, and Bisping actually confirmed it on commentary. He was saying that he said that it was odd that Dan was not getting past the kicking range. We know at this point, having watched all of what I was just talking about, having watched Melly Costa at this point for a good amount of time, it was noticeable that Dan was leaving the amount of distance that he was leaving for some of the earlier kicks, not the kick that actually ended up knocking him out or the TKO or whatever, but earlier he was still taking some high kicks. And Costa, that is just a really sharp element of his game. He has very nice kicks in general. He's really dialed those in over time. Like, he pairs that with a solid fight IQ that really works in tandem with one another in an extremely effective way. His setups are very smart. He low kicks right into a counter right hand. I mean, like the fight IQ is on display with the accuracy. Like you're seeing a well-rounded fighter getting the accolades they deserve based on their skill, and that is really something great in this sport. You know, because a lot of guys are big talkers. They'll talk their way into things. This is off of hard work and fight IQ and all those things I just mentioned. So, the stoppage, I'll at least just talk about it a little bit from my perspective. Beautifully placed kick. I mean, really, you know, as you described it, I mean, like the elements of it just play right into what I was just saying about his fight IQ and all that. So the placement plus the misdirection of it, all very good. Montalvo, the referee, stopped it very instantly. The only thing I will say in Dan's defense on this, because I do think it was an early stoppage, even though it was a devastating kick, is that I think that Dan was probably, because if you know, the kick landed right at the clapper, basically. So Dan knew that there were 10 seconds left in the round. He goes down, now definitely was covering up. You know, it was not a good visual of him, you know, on his back with his hands over his face, covering up like that. But he might have just been trying to survive to the you know, to the horn so that he could get himself reset for the second round. Didn't happen that way. Unfortunate. We've seen way worse stoppages. So I'm not like, this is not the worst thing. You know, I'm not like saying this is a travesty or anything like that. I feel bad for Dan if that's what was happening in his mind in that moment. Either way, you know, it probably was only delaying an inevitable, you know, because if his nose was broken like that, then it wasn't going to be much better after that.
No, the way that his eye looked when they were raising the hands, I probably would bet that if it didn't get ended right there, that we might have seen a doctor stoppage because his eye was completely fucking shut. I mean, the kick landed so perfect, just right across his face, so it shatters his nose. His eye is swollen. So I'm telling you, I think the orbital's broke, and this is something that, listen, you don't do this to Dan Ige, guys. This is something that nobody has ever fucking done. And I mean
Right.
nobody. You know, sometimes he gets dropped, sometimes he gets up back up. But breaking the man's fucking face, I mean, special fighters do special things, guys.
It's very true. And you know, speaking of special, one lucky fan in the crowd got to take Melly Costa's cup home with them. So that's something special.
You didn't see the part two, did you?
I did not.
Okay, so he gets on top of the cage, right? And he takes his cup out and he fucking launches it. When he's walking out the cage, the cup had made it back to the front. Someone's got a marker and wants him to sign it.
That's amazing.
So I don't
Oh
know.
my.
It was a woman. I don't. She was like, and he signed it. So I don't know if they made it back way up there, or if or if it was the woman who got it. But he chucked it. It made its way back down to get signed. That's all that I know.
Gotta love MMA. I mean, that is certainly a special souvenir for a very lucky fan. So how about that? I guess in a weird roundabout way, I guess it was kind of lucky it was a woman. I
It,
don't know. You know, I don't know if a man would want to be
but
handling the
maybe
cup.
she was just like the person who was like, oh yeah, I can get it to him. Like maybe I don't know. I don't know, guys. But either way, what I will say is, Melky, the Dalmatian, this guy's, and once again, I see him fight, and I question who down in Brazil did this tattoo, because they must have seen that dude for a lifetime to make that tattoo look like. When I see that tattoo on his chest, I'm like, I might have seen that dude in my life. Like, that's how good of a tattoo this facial fucking features are on this. It's crazy. But either way, great performance. Love Melky. The hair this time, the turquoise, green, and blue wasn't my favorite. I like the purple better. But Melky got it done. Appreciate him.
Yeah, you know, I'm a fan myself now. I think that you know, it's exciting to see where he's gonna end up. You know, how far the train goes for him. So keep doing what you're doing. This is a big notch. You know, as what we've said, Danny Gay is, you know, he's really the gatekeeper to the upper echelon, and you've kicked the gate open quite literally. So
Yeah.
good deal, man. We will see how far he goes.
What did you think of Danny Gay's new nickname?
I thought it would have made a lot more sense if he had won this fight,
Yeah,
unfortunately. But
that's
yeah, I mean, and also I guess, like, you know, Danny Gay does have some finishes, but 100 grand Dan based on the finish bonus. I mean, when was the last time we saw like a really definitive? Like it was Sean Woodson, I guess, right?
oh,
But that
true.
wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily like super definitive, you
early
know.
too. Ref had to step in, but
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, like, you know, I live up to your nicknames, I guess is what I would say. But
It,
I
it's
still got
funny.
love for Dan.
It's funny too. I remember tweet or not tweeting, but in the Discord I had said earlier in the week, I was like, this Melky and Dan Ige fight gives me vibes that Melky will get a close finish, but the ref stops it before Dan Ige can die. And close enough, you know?
I mean, Mystic Chase over here, he predicts these things.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, another one that you got correct amongst many tonight was Jeff Neal versus Uros Medic. Poor Jeff Neal on this one, man. I said, this guy, it's look, man. I think we got a lot of very callous fans in the MMA world. I think it takes a lot of courage and a lot of balls to admit when you've got a problem and when it's a problem that needs addressing. Uh, Jeff Neal was very open, very frank about his addiction issues, stuff that we as fans probably had no idea about, but he knew about for a long time. Got himself right, comes out here and just gets flatlined by the Serbian power of Uros Medic. And I felt really bad for that because it's like, it really would have been nice if that was the thing that could have been like the course correction. And now we get a new and improved version of Jeff Neal. I've always been a Jeff Neal fan. I actually think that the guy is not as boring as people have made him out to be. I know he's taken some bad losses, but he's taken some bad losses to guys who have gone on to be the now best of the division in a lot of ways, a lot of different versions of that. Like, I think that there should be more for Jeff Neal, but then Uros Medic just clips him and sends him into the shadow realm. It made me really feel bad for him.
Yeah, there's really nothing more to this. I mean, a minute 19 seconds, you walk in, you go against a guy who's a first round killer and you get killed in the first round. You know, unfortunately, I saw this one coming. If you didn't know, this was only a few years ago. Jeff Neal lost to an unranked opponent named Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't know how that worked, but he's no longer even in the game. So Jeff Neal's losing to nobodies at this point. I was not surprised. So
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to chalk that up to a little facetiousness on your part there, Chase. But no, you're right. I mean, again, the losses that that he has taken are to Shavkat, to Ian Gary. I mean, these are the big names now. So, but now you've got Uros Medic in the mix. Now, we know Uros Medic is a killer be killed guy. This is a kill for him, obviously, but he also over time might have been improving himself to the point where now killing is more of what we're going to see than being killed,
I think, well, that's funny you bring it up that way because Uros Medic is another one of these guys who he's fun. I actually like his personality a lot, but he also has like this delusional level of confidence. Like, he gets the mic and he's like, guys, what can I say? I do this shit. I knock people out. And then he's like, and he hands it back and he's like, sometimes I get knocked out too, but for most part, I knock them out,
That was
like,
great. Yeah, I did love it. I have that in the notes too. I said that Uros Medic is great on the mic. He said, Houston, we have a problem, and it's me. I'm the problem.
yeah,
So that's really funny. But yeah, you are right. It is like, yeah, have to keep it in perspective a little bit here. Shout out to him at least. It's
yeah.
like being realistic about that part of it. But yeah, no, what I said about the knockout itself in this though is that this is a prime example of what I call the power of placement. We talk about certain shots being like, how did that knock him out? It didn't look like it was that crazy of a shot or that clean of a shot, whatever. It was the exact right amount of power in the exact right location. And the location really was what mattered here. I mean, directly on the temple, just put him out off of a shot that really just kind of clipped him. I mean, it wasn't like a full on flush impact with the knuckles, face forward. It was just off the side of the head and he beamed him with it. And that was all that it really needed there, and it sucks too, because I mean, like Jeff Neal, what I would say is a positive for him, his movement was very fluid in this fight beforehand. Like his footwork looked really nice. Like the one time he planted himself to trade with Medic is when the shot landed. So it's like, again, the power of placement. What can I say? It sucks
I
for
what I
him.
will say, yeah, well, what I will say is the most impactful thing going forward for me. Uros Medic, yes, he's got good striking. He can throw his hands and he can knock people out. He's done it ever since. The thing that I think goes unnoticed because there's not a large sample size to be able to tell. Uros Medic has very, very fast kicks as well. The like three that he threw, dude, they were fucking lightning fucking quick. And it you didn't have to see too much of it, but once I saw that, I realized that, like, there is a complete striker on the feet here. It's not just somebody who can box the head off somebody. I mean, he can truly keep range if he really wanted to. And then when you get in close, if you try to bust through the kicking range, I mean, clearly you can get a shot right off the fucking temple that shoots a snot rocket out your fucking nose, you know? So I don't know. You didn't get that reference. You didn't see the snot go out of Jeff Neal's fucking nose on the knockout.
Oh no, I must have missed it. Did he?
Yeah, it was a big old snot rocket that as soon
Oh.
as he hit the ground, it shot out of
Oh,
his nose.
I think somebody mentioned that on the watch along. I didn't know what they were talking about. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess now that makes sense. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
But
but Uros Medic, man, I mean, there's a new guy in town, and sometimes there's not. So,
yeah, right. There's a new guy in town, unless it's not him.
yeah.
But yes, yeah, no, I mean, dude, great knockout, and one of many. Again, the guy has never been to decision for a reason, so good deal there.
Is this something that you're gonna have an asterisk over? Going forward, when you see Uros Medic lined up for the next fight, are you gonna say, well, that was Jeff Neal off of a KO. Well, that was Jeff Neal after he got sober. That was Jeff Neal after, like, do you think this is fair play? He came in here and at Jeff Neal's quote unquote best, as far as we know, Medic got it. Are there no stipulations here? You believe Medic really handled, a top competitor in the division kind of
Oh,
deal?
absolutely, I do. Yeah, most definitely, I do. I think that this is, yeah. I mean, all of the things that Jeff Neal, fixed in his life or whatever, should have made him the best version of himself there. And really, I mean, Medic coming in with the exact same, like, what I'll say. I guess what I'll answer this in a little bit of roundabout way, but what I'll say is that, like, Medic will always be a little bit of a question mark coming into any fight because of that kill or be killed aspect of him. What I'm thinking, hopefully, is that he is now evolving to the point where the killing is more than the be killed part, but it's always going to be a little bit up in the air. So I don't think that there's any asterisk on this win. I think that this is a clear, flat out, yeah, you did the damn thing win, but that also comes with who do they pair him up next with? I mean, like, if he's moving up in the rankings now, I mean, Rourke is going to be ranked off of this. I think Jeff Neal was like the sixth or something like that, or not. It's got to be different than that. Maybe he
Mm,
was a little
something
lower
like
than
that,
that,
maybe.
but whatever. Somewhere, he's moving up in the rankings. If he fights a Michael Morales, what am I supposed to think? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, am I supposed to come in here and think that, oh, well, yeah, this is just the new killer? But it's like, if he can be killed, then it's always going to be a little up in the air as far as how I look at him.
I definitely agree. It's going to be interesting. But I'm a big fan of Medic. I've always I think it's really funny that his nickname is the Doctor. It's like, mate, your name is Medic already. Like, Jesus Christ.
Right. I mean, the medic would be perfectly fine for it, but yeah, no, he chose the doctor instead unnecessarily. I agree. The last thing I did want to mention about this, just because I thought it was a little odd, and I mean, I don't want to get super political. Of course, we do not do that all that much on this show, but I did want to mention it. Medic in this post fight talked about having visa issues. Apparently, Dana White called the president and just sorted it out over the phone. That does not
Yes.
seem to be legal to me. I mean, or without any checks and balances in there at all. You can just call the president and now visa issues go away.
Well, yeah, Dana, I mean, Trump told Dana or he told Medic, or he relayed the information to Dana to tell Medic, just make sure Dana has all the documentation and you're good. Like, so I also don't know how that works. I don't know what the exact situation is because Uros Medic is Serbian. I assumed he came from Serbia. I assumed that was where he was, but no, he's in Alaska. He's just in Alaska, guys. Or so that's where he just trains. And then he's talking about visa issues. I'm like, aren't you're just in Alaska on your visa? Like, are you trying to go back to Serbia? I don't know what's the situation here. I'm confused about the whole thing. But the point is, the UFC had already announced, or maybe it wasn't the UFC, or maybe there was rumblings. There had already been talks that the UFC is going to Serbia. If
Right.
you guys didn't hear, so I mean, they
Yes.
got their main event right here. So fuck
Oh
it.
God, I know. Yeah, Belgrade, Serbia, and that I think it's gonna be great. I mean, we've been seeing some crazy, awesome fighters out of Serbia recently. Not just in the UFC. Of course, we talked about Sveticanin on Glory over there a couple episodes ago.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, Serbia is on the come up when it comes to combat sports. So I am very happy that they're going to be going to Serbia. And shout out to all of my Serbians embodying Inat.
Nice. Love it.
Yes, of course. All right. Well, that being said, that takes us to the main event since that was the co-main. So I guess we got to talk about it. This is Sean Strickland versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I said on the last episode that if Fluffy did not win this fight, I was going to be upset. Chase, I cannot lie. I've said this in different ways, but a lot of times I know that I'm not the greatest predictor of fights, and often I really don't get overly invested in the fighters themselves all that much. I'm a fan of fighting, so I don't really put too much stock in any one person. If a person that I like loses, they can come back, etc. There are only certain fights that actually like I put that like make me like compelled in a different way. This was one of those fights, and I'm not gonna lie. After this card was over, I didn't have the best night after that. I was a little upset. I was a little bit sour after this, and it's not because Strickland won. That might be the false impression here. I'm okay with Sean Strickland winning this fight based on what we saw. What I was upset at is Fluffy Hernandez not having a game plan for the easiest style to game plan for. That is what bothered me about this. Sean Strickland did exactly what you knew he was going to do. Fluffy needed to get around the jab and push past the teep. He did neither of those things and did not seem that he had any plan to do so.
This fight, I mean, it says it went to round 3, but it may as well have just been one round where it got ended. I mean, there's nothing more that Sean Strickland walked in this fight and did exactly what Sean Strickland does. I mean, it's a sparring session for him. You got to be able to knock him off his game. You got to be able to take him out of his element. And Anthony Hernandez, unfortunately, just followed him around the cage, let him do exactly what he wanted to do. He didn't shoot not but one takedown, and I'll give Sean credit. I was honestly believing that he was becoming more of a mythical takedown defensive kind of guy, but he did defend the one takedown Fluffy went for, and I gave him plenty of credit. And the second time Fluffy ran in, he got kneed right in the fucking sternum, and that was kind of all she wrote. Unfortunately, getting finished by Sean Strickland is pretty crazy, but I think we should have seen it coming, guys. I mean, Fluffy is like I said, he's fought 8 times in the last 6 years. He's been hurt to the body plenty of times. He just kind of speaks to me as somebody, and I'm not trying to say it in a way that, like, obviously he's more disciplined than me when it comes to this, but he's less disciplined than others, is what I would say. And I would say the same thing about Renier de Ritter. You know, you guys just you gotta just work harder, I guess, bro. Like, if you're gonna be the guy who smokes 10 blunts a day kind of deal, and like, oh, I'm the weed guy, I do all this, and I just come in here and I don't game plan, I just come and fight. It's like, that's fine, but when it doesn't work, then everybody's they're gonna point the fingers like, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do that? Like, I wish Fluffy would have came in with some fucking abs or something, but like, the fact that you come in Fluffy every time and you get hurt to the body every time, we should have seen it coming. I think it's unfortunate.
I mean, I just like even though you're not coping, it sounds like cope from someone who would be trying to like have reasons to justify this. And I don't think that I think it's simpler than that. I think you actually already nailed it. Basically, it's just that Fluffy gave Sean the exact fight that he wanted. He never pushed him outside of his comfort zone in any way. He allowed him to be in the exact flow state that he always gets in. They're sitting there. Sean's having a conversation with him. He's dapping him up. He turned into John Silva in this fight. And
Yeah.
Fluffy just allowed it. Fluffy's sitting there smiling back. They're having a grand old time, and then he gets knocked the fuck out. This is not some amazing Sean Strickland performance. This is a bog standard Sean Strickland performance that Fluffy did not have any negation for. This was a very predictable style. I have said that Sean Strickland is to striking what Dagestan is to wrestling and grappling. Like
Mhm.
it is like there's ways to counteract it if you really dig down deep, but at the surface level it is a very effective style if you are going to allow it to happen, which is what he did. So I mean, Sean saying that Fluffy finally realized the wrestling wasn't working, so he stopped trying it. He never committed to it in the first place. You're saying there was one attempt. I mean, okay, like, yeah, you're saying if he got kneed in the sternum because of it, then fine, but you gotta do it more than once over the course of a 5-round fight, even if it only turned into the 3 here. I mean, like, there needed to be more urgency. Dean Thomas even said it. I thought that Dean Thomas was right on. He said Fluffy needed to just crash in, football tackle him, go in for the cross cage run and gun. I mean, like there had to have been some dynamism in him that just was not there throughout any of this fight. You allowed Sean to play by his rules.
What I will say is the most interesting part about all of this is that Sean Strickland has finally, and I do mean this because I've never been the biggest Sean Strickland fan. I'm not big on the political grift that he does kind of on social media. But I will say is I think this fight right here is where Sean Strickland mastered the gray area. He can be the wholesome Sean Strickland, and I'll give you an example. But then he can also be the deranged lunatic on the mic. So in the fight press, at the weigh-ins or whatever, he takes the mic and he does his whole speech or whatever where he's doing his salutes and stuff, and then at the end he's like whatever the fuck he says. But anyway, at the end of the fight, in his post-fight speech or whatever, he was talking. He was like, I was talking with Fluffy, and he was like, when I flipped off the crowd, his daughter was saying that she thinks I hate Mexicans, and I feel bad. I didn't mean it for that. I've been in this position where he loses fights, blah 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 blah. But the point is Sean is finding and has found the perfect balance where he's relatable but also can be entertaining. And I think this is hone in on this. He's sitting here saying, I'm never leaving America again. I'm fighting only in fucking blah blah blah. Let him have it. If he doesn't have any idea to go to he already became a champion once. No need to go back for it a second time. Just go fight as many times as you want. Just defend America, and that's the character you want to play. That's fine by me because at the end of the day, entertaining, and for the one time he went to fucking war for us, guys. Shout out Sean Strickland is what I will definitely say here.
Imagine getting finished by Sean Strickland, who never finishes anyone, is what I had in the
Yeah.
notes. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, look, I really don't have too much to say about the political stuff when it comes to him, at least not in this capacity. We can talk about that on the free for all or whatever. But like, I I think that the stuff with that. I mean, these are the kinds of performances that allow him to continue doing that. So good on him for that. I mean, if it is like the grift of it or whatever, like Sean has a base that he has decided he wants to play to, and he says the things that they want to hear. So it's a symbiotic relationship with that. If he was not winning his fights, it wouldn't matter. He would not have the platform anymore. Eventually, he would fade away, and he'd basically be a Colby Covington to an extent, not for the exact same reasons, but the same basic idea. You don't win your fights, you go and you're on Twitter, and that's your lane now, or you're on Kick or whatever.
Yeah.
So he keeps himself relevant with this fight. That's fine. I did think that it was interesting what happened at the post-fight press conference when his mic got shut off. That's something that we can probably talk about on Friday. We'll kind of get into it a little bit of a different time or whatever. But overall, really, I think that my ultimate takeaway is just how disappointed I am in Fluffy, someone who I really thought I really had him pegged as the dark horse, kind of guy who had the skill set that could have been applicable to being a dude who's going to be surprising to you. Because what I would say about that is that Sean Strickland was in the exact same position, different circumstance with Izzy at his stage of his career, but same idea. Oh, Sean Strickland is never going to be able to be a champion. I mean, he might be in the top of the division, but a champion, Sean Strickland champion, and then he goes out and does it. I thought that there was something similar there with Fluffy. It's like Fluffy is never going to be a champion, but then he does. Now we're seeing that maybe that's not the case, and that's what really is disappointing to me in the end.
Let me know what is worse, because at middleweight we had two dark horses that were supposedly going to take over the division. We had Renier de Ritter and Anthony Hernandez. Is quitting on the stool to Brendan Allen better or worse than getting finished by Sean Strickland?
Way worse, way worse. There is nothing worse than quitting on the stool to me. I
Okay,
think that
fair.
is, yeah. I think that's, yeah. There's you can't, I mean, like that's essentially tapping to strikes between rounds, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, you got to be in the fight, man. I mean, that's the name of the game.
Fair.
Because that's really what you could say. It's Fluffy is like, yeah, you got finished, but at least you were in it. At least you were
Mhm.
there to be finished. At least you were trying your hardest to an extent, at least,
Yeah,
whatever. You can't get finished on the stool because you're finishing yourself basically at that
true,
point.
100%.
All right. Well, any last final thoughts on that one? That
No,
fight?
I mean, I still stand by it. I think this is one of the more fun events that we've had for 2026. I even with the slow parts, I thought that there was plenty to make fun of with those fighters, and that added a very good element to this.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. I mean, there were times that, again, I think that maybe my perception of it colored slightly by the main event, perhaps. I think that there were a good amount of not so great fights that kind of made this a little bit more mid. The shit with the commission is just always going to be a big thorn in my side. Anytime that those things happen, I hate it so much. I feel like we talk about it every week and nothing changes. So that also colors my perception of it. I don't know. I'd give this one maybe like a 6 out of 10 personally.
Fair.
All right. So that being said, then I guess let's move on to the upcoming card. Chase, before we started this stream, you were telling me some kind of concerning news as far as what is going on in Mexico right now. Do you think that this card is going to actually take place in Mexico City, Mexico?
I am not positive. I do not know the locations of what all is going down in Mexico. I don't know anything other than you guys. I don't really look into these things too much, but all I know is that Mexico is unfortunately underneath some situation as of right now, and I would be one to believe that we are not going to be going to Mexico once again on short notice. I think we are going to be headed to the Meta Apex for our Mexico card. That's probably what I would say. Or we just have, it'd be kind of cool. Let's just have a second week in Texas. Fuck it. That's what we did last time. No Mexico card. Just run it, but just back to Texas. Just do San Antonio this time. Fuck it.
Yeah, I'm actually not opposed to that, honestly. If there are things that are going down there, that would make it so that they can't have the card there, it's kind of a good, decent compromise, I would think. But, that all being said, we will see. As of right now, we have not heard any cancellations or any kind of a change of plans here. So, for the time being, at least, this is UFC Fight Night. Moreno versus Kavanagh is supposed to take place in Mexico City, Mexico. And the main event of this thing is Brandon Moreno versus Lanier Kavanagh. We talked a little bit about this fight on the free for all, but this is your chance to give your full thoughts here. Chase, what are you thinking about this thing?
Okay, so now that the picks are like official, it's hard to say because I really do like Lonnie. I even said it earlier. This is a flyweight who has all the skills. You've seen it. You've seen him establish himself as somebody who has the skills to compete. This is the craziest step up I think I've seen. Short notice, coming off a knockout loss in Mexico at elevation, which, if you didn't know, highest elevation on planet Earth, I'm pretty sure, is where they're at. This dude is cooked. I hate to say it, but in a way, like I brought it up earlier, and I truly am kind of believing my own shit right here. Like, Lonnie did leave a dude unconscious for multiple minutes. He has the power to
On the
change
contender
fight.
series, though.
That's fine. That is fine. Brandon Moreno, he gets punched. He is a type of person where you give me a shot, give me a couple, I go back and I give you a couple. We have a fight kind of deal. If Lonnie is able to somehow summon that hand that left that Asian man, I forget his name, unfortunately, the Korean kid. If he was left him unconscious like that, I think Brandon Moreno potentially could be at the same fate. But at 32 years old, I'm not going to say that I think it's time for him to face that fate yet, because Brandon Moreno, he's done this so long, he's got so many different skills. This is a veteran at the flyweight division. I mean, he even took time off, came back, whipped number 2 ranked guy off of his comeback. Like, nothing that I would say Brandon Moreno can do is short of beating Lonnie Kavanagh. But to make the official pick on my end, actually, I want to hear what you have to say before I make my pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brandon Moreno is one of my favorite fighters for a reason, and that reason is that he is one of the best technical fighters in the UFC. And
Mm,
that is a point blank period statement on my part. I think that he has shown that time and time again. I think that some of the circumstances in some of his fights have, not necessarily lent themselves to him being allowed to give the full range of what he's capable of. We saw what happened in the Tyra fight. Circumstances are what they are sometimes there. That's going to be fight over fight. Things like that are going to happen. You go back to the Amir Albazi fight. That was one of the best technical performances that I have ever seen a fighter put on. So you extrapolate that with his performances, against Figueiredo and all the other high level fighters that he has competed against over the years. He has proven time and time again that he is of a higher caliber than he's in the 98th percentile of fighters, in my opinion. And that's something that is rarefied air that, basically Lachlan kind of summoned it up really nicely and succinctly. It's just too much too soon for Kavanagh. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Kavanagh can't get to that point. I mean, I do think all of what you're saying is very true about him. Like, you take your loss at with what 9-1 now. I mean, this is a perfect time for him to take a loss. Like, you're seeing a fighter who is starting and could potentially take the place of Brandon Moreno sometime down the line. Not now.
Yeah.
That's basically where I land on it. So, for those reasons, that's pretty much where my thought process ends up.
So officially, you are taking Brandon Moreno.
10,100,000,000,000%. Yeah.
I am also taking Brandon Moreno.
All right. Well, we are locked in. And of course, folks, if you stick around to the end of our predictions here, you will get to find out where we stand in the rankings right now as far as, who has been more correct on our predictions. You might already be able to guess who's ahead right now, but anything can happen. And if we differ on our picks, Chase and I are streaming to our individual channels. Make sure you like the channel who you think has the better picks.
And before we get further into this card, I want to actually say that I took a little peek at the names on this. This card genuinely has most of the favorites that I have. Like, there are favorite fighters, and then there's people that are locked in my brain for the one performance I've seen them have, and I just can't get over it. They're all on this card, and I love it. I shut out
Excellent.
Mexico.
Yeah, bangers for a reason. They always do big things in Mexico, and I am very here for it as well. So let's
Facts.
keep it moving here. All right, next up is Marlon Chito Vera versus David Martinez. Of course, David Martinez coming in and making big waves very quickly here. What are you thinking about this one?
Second co-main event for David Martinez in Mexico. They definitely want this dude to be somebody. And at 27 years old, Chito Vera, 33, is still not the oldest, but he's obviously on the decline. He does nothing in his fights. He stands in front of his opponents and he takes shots. He just got dropped by Davison Figueiredo in one of his last performances. Hopefully, David Martinez is able to land something like that. And if Figueiredo, who again is a very powerful striker, if that's a flyweight, if he can come up a division and drop you on your butt, David Martinez, I would love to believe that you can get this one done, because there's just nothing that I can see that Cheeto can do to edge out a win anymore. Like, he just doesn't do it, Like, he got mad at his last performance against who the fuck did he just get mad he lost against? Zahabi or some shit like that?
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it might have been, right?
Yeah.
Naaman Zahabi?
Either way, he's not very good anymore, so I think this one's an easy decision for me. And I'm going to go ahead and believe that the new blood is taking over. David Martinez, let's get it going.
I mean, I'm right in line with you on this one. Chito Vera he's sad to say, and I really don't know where this comes from, but he's gotten lazy, is what it seems like. Really, it does not seem like he goes out with any express intent to win fights. It seems like he feels like the fight needs to come to him. He will throw with power if you give him the exact set of circumstances that he wants. The second he doesn't get what he wants, he's bitching and complaining about it. Everything is not going his way. It's a woe is me situation when, bro, there are fighters on the other side of the cage from you who are actively seeking a victory. That seems to be lost somewhere in the equation at this point. And if that's just going to be what it's going to be, then there is no other way for me to look at it. Like, I can't magically think that Cheeto's going to just light a fire under his own ass here and say that, oh, it's going to be against David Martinez of all people. It's like, you had the opportunity for several fights now at this point against higher up ranked guys that could have done more for your career. If you're not doing it against them, why should I think that this will be any different?
Yeah, 100%. David Martinez all the way.
Yeah, I got to go as well. We got to be in lockstep on this. But really, again, it all rests on Cheeto. And I mean, and on the other side, we've seen David Martinez put up a really good performance against Rob Font, who is a tough customer. He's not what he once was necessarily, but a guy who you have to beat to get to where he is now.
It's a very similar fight for that regard. Somebody who's just never been finished, just going to stand in front of you and give you a clean slate to have 3 rounds against. I like that for Martinez, and obviously they're building him up to be a star, so I think this is the perfect career navigation for him. Yeah, I really like that. And, you shouldn't even feel bad. If we are picking the same, everybody out there, just make sure, if you didn't forget, I picked all the right fights last week. So if you're picking the same as me, you're doing something right.
That's
So.
right. Until this week when picking with me is going to be right, but we'll see on that.
Well, every time I look at it now, and we have all right, Brandon Moreno and David Martinez. I'm like, well, shit. Of course, I'm not gonna get them all right again. So, which one of these losers is about to fuck it up?
Yeah,
Like,
right. Exactly. And you know exactly how I felt watching last card. I was
yeah,
God. Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot, Ante Dalia.
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's keep going here then. All right, Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green. This is another one. I mean, this is a little bit more interesting. Let me at least take one step back. Zellhuber is a guy who was coming off of a very lauded performance in the fight previous to his last. Last performance was very different. I think a lot of people
Michael
felt.
Johnson one,
Yes, well, the one before that is one I was just talking about. The one before that, I think, was the
Rebovix.
Rebovix. Yeah, exactly. And that was a very, that was a fight that a lot of people were putting all these big praise on. A lot of accolades to that. People saying that was fight of the year. We talked that one through. I think maybe it was slightly overblown, perhaps, but he was definitely in that fight. The Johnson fight seemed like we saw a very different version of Zellhuber that maybe gives people a little bit of pause coming into a fight like this, especially for the fact that Johnson, a little bit of an older age guy at this point, a little farther in his career. King Green, definitely in that same boat as far as that goes. Different fighters fundamentally, but what I'm saying is, I guess, is that Zellhuber, maybe your perception was one way. Has your perception changed after that last fight?
I honestly, it did. I did not love the Michael Johnson performance. It did not do it for me. Obviously, he lost to a fucking old ass man. Um,
The
Again,
old ass man, though. Keep that
right.
in mind.
And then of course, when it comes into this, even though I know that, I just know statistically the numbers would say that the 39-year-old man is not going to beat the 26-year-old. I know it happened already once last fight. This is the redeemer. This is, oh, we'll give you the real shitty 39-year-old this time kind of deal. And Bobby Green's not shitty, and I don't mean it that way, but like Bobby Green at 39 years old, 33 and 17, had a long career at this point. This is somebody who is beatable. Daniel Zellhuber, if you are anywhere close to decent, Bobby Green is somebody that you can win a fight against. I mean, damn near Jim Miller almost did on 300. I know he got his ass whooped, but like, you have all that time to work with Bobby Green. Just figure something out, please.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're going back to just the previous fights, right? I mean, Bobby Green in his last fight had a newcomer, and that fight was a goof fest, if you recall. Like Bobby Green was,
Who
he
even
won.
was it?
I mean, I forget his name off the top of my head. He was the dude who was the son of a previous fighter. But either way, I mean, it was it was one of those ways. I just remember him emoting throughout the entire fight because he was so far up in the fight. He wasn't really getting any competition back. You are not getting that out of Daniel Zellhuber. I am very confident in that. Now, granted, we did not get a great version of Zellhuber against Johnson, but my point is that King Green is at this point, to me, I would say only able to win against guys who are making it so that he can win. And that was
Mhm.
the fight that he got from that last fight. I don't think he's getting the same kind of fight out of Daniel Zellhuber. I think Zellhuber comes in with a lot more tenacity, a lot more desire to actually win and bring the fight to him. The other guy was dancing around. He didn't even want to engage. Like, it was
Yeah.
one of those kind of keep away fights. So Zellhuber, I think, comes in here. I think Zellhuber ends up taking this fight, which sucks. I'm a fan of King Green. I've been a fan for a long time, but I mean, this is a guy that we've talked about at several points throughout history of saying like it's probably time for him to hang it up. Come on, man. I mean, if that's the conversation, I think that it's probably a pretty sure bet that Zellhuber gets the win here.
I'm definitely taking Zellhuber, yeah.
As am I,
And we'll probably
unfortunately.
regret it when he fucking loses, but we'll take it.
And that'll be the most telling loss of his career at that point. And Michael Johnson, as I'm saying, regardless of the age, Michael Johnson is a guy who can still pull out random victories against guys who you would never think he would win against. If you go through his record, that's the meme of Michael Johnson, is that he wins against guys who he's supposed to lose against and vice versa. This should be one of those fights where Zellhuber walks away with this pretty handily. If he does not, then now we know a lot more about Daniel Zellhuber than we have from any of his other fights.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, next up, Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. God, I think we're gonna be picking a lot of the same fighters on this one, unfortunately. But yeah, what do you think about this?
Oh, I love Edgar Chairez, man. This dude's a fucking dog. I know 12 and 6 doesn't speak to it, but guys, These are both Josh Van's victims. Felipe Bunez got finished in the second round by Josh Van. Edgar Shirez actually was able to make it to decision, if I remember. Yeah, and that was a one hell of a fucking fight. One of my favorite fights of all time was Shirez and Van because they truly almost finished each other in that second round. Shirez, that spinning elbow he landed, that could have ended Josh Van's career right there. That could have been back to back KOs for him, and it didn't. And Josh Van's obviously the champ, but Edgar Shirez is actually one of the only people, other than that fluke Charles Johnson, but he's not relevant anymore. Edgar Shirez is one of the only people that I've said like he truly, it wasn't the skill set that he had. It was true heart and determination that made him almost be able to beat Josh Van. And he's got the skill set that backs it up. He's got grappling, he's got striking, he's got confidence. And he's just a marauder, man. I fucking love Edgar Shirez. And again, this speaks to this card right here has all of the people that one performance solidified that you are that guy to me. And it's been a few. Edgar Shirez, I think, is really funny. He has two submissions against the same person. They're the same submission. The dude literally fell for it twice after he got a rematch. Like, it's so really funny. Yeah, Edgar Shirez is just a marauder, man. Appreciate him.
Yeah, so on the other side of that equation is Felipe Bunes, who I believe he's coming off of a victory. I think he might have gotten a
Yes.
finish not too long ago, right? Is this his last win a finish?
Let us double check his last. Oh shit, he lost unanimous decision to Rafael Esteban. Forgot about that. Okay,
Oh, was that was his last fight?
that was his last fight. He got a submission win against Jose Johnson.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, that's why I knew this guy because yes, Felipe Bunes for quite a while before that victory was a dude who I was thinking was probably going to get cut. I mean, he's a dude who is, I mean, really, there's not much to like to hang your hat on with him. 14-8. Now Shiras is 12-6, so I mean that's not exactly like a crazy great record himself. But what I do know about Shiras is basically the things that you were just outlining. I mean, this is a guy who, at least with those losses, it comes with a grit level and a determination level that I don't think Felipe Bunes has. Like I think that you to beat Jose Johnson, that's a guy who's out of the promotion for a reason right now. He was
yeah,
Mr. Tall for nothing. This is a dude who does not stack up. I think this actually is really a fight that is, one of these like let's flip one to the Mexicans because it's in Mexico kind of fights.
yeah.
That being said, I think that Shirez is the better out of the two of these guys. He's the more skilled out of the two of these guys. Could Felipe Bunes possibly pull a submission out? It's not impossible. I mean, it could happen. I don't think he is of the grit level to be able to get into the position to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, Shirez. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's gonna be my pick, and I'm gonna say by decision too. I don't think he'll finish Bunez just because they'll be scrambling a lot in this.
Yeah, I'm probably going along the same line of thought with that. Maybe Shirez pulls out a knockout potentially, but yeah, I think decision's probably the safer version of this. But I also am going with Edgar Shirez on this fight. I've just never been impressed with Felipe Bunes. And then when you're saying losing to Esteban, that's just adds to my point.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Well, we've been talking about this guy for a while. Good to see him finally back. My dude, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Mr. Ultimate Fighter, is back against Kevin Borjas of Peru. We have not been seeing great things out of Peruvian fighters lately. Chase, what do you think about this matchup?
This one is gonna be interesting. I find Imano Imano's an interesting case because he lost on the Ultimate Fighter, but it's not one of those cases where he just gets an opportunity because he's an alum of the Ultimate Fighter. No, he actually earned his spot. He went on the Contender Series and knocked a dude out. Uh, that speaks to me. It's not like he's not one of these tough guys that again that just gets praised because they've been in the system kind of deal. This is somebody who is stacking up with the guys that are of the better prospects kind of deal. He's in the pool of the better prospects now. Uh, and I think it just speaks to a lot. Kevin Borjas really, you talked about Peruvian fighters. Now, they're not necessarily the greatest, but Kevin Borjas, again, another one of Josh Van's victims, but Josh Van is just that good. And Kevin Borjas actually made me a fan in his last fight. I think it was against, and now correct me if I'm wrong, was it the Lazy Boy? No, Sumerdaji. No, he did fight Rodriguez, though. That's Ricardo Rodriguez. But either way, Kevin Borjas has very good striking. But Imano is the next guy up, and I would like to believe that if Kevin Borjas struggled with Josh Van at being a 5'4" hobbit in flyweight, Imanol's going to have the same success. I would just like love to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Imanol was the guy who I thought was going to win the Ultimate Fighter. I was not happy when he did not win. I thought that there was more to him than what we saw on the show. Comes back on the Contender Series, gets a knockout. I'm like, we are so back. I think that Kevin Borjas is a dude who has not necessarily lived up to whatever potential might have been thought to be possessed within him, as far as what I have seen. I think that this is another one that could be a really nice a victory for the home crowd here in Mexico. I am a fan of Imanol. I've been waiting to see him come back since his win on the Contender Series. I like this in Mexico for him. I think that this is a good coming out party for him. And also, I mean, like, you've talked about the fact that he is so, kind of a tiny guy. He's 5'4", going up against a guy who's 5'5". So, I mean, really,
Yeah.
this is not like a crazy advantage. Will he have problems going down the line in the future? Sure. I mean, that's definitely something to keep aware of as he, continues up the rankings. But for this fight right here, right now, I think that this is Imanol's time to shine on the big stage after earning his way in, after clawing his way in when you thought that he was never going to be able to, to make that happen for himself. He said, I'm doing it anyway. And I like
No.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this fight. I think it should be a very scrappy type of. This is the fight that the Mexican crowd's going to love. I mean, these two
Right.
dudes are going to stand and strike with each other, and hopefully one of them gets finished. But Latino chins, guys, you guys got to be careful betting on the finishes this weekend because it's a tough ask. It's definitely tough.
No, I agree. Yeah, definitely. And you've got a couple of those that are like deceptive, where it's like you got guys who have potential knockout power, but the guys that they're going up against are going to be tough customers as well. So.
Yeah. So, what are you taking on this one?
Oh, I'm taking Imanol on this one. Are you talking
Okay.
about as far
Yes.
as? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going with Imanol.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, we are locked in right now, so we're picking good.
I mean, yeah, I know. It's sorry, guys. Sometimes it's not. We're not always going to be differing on these opinions, but when it's somewhat cut and dry, maybe this one will be a little bit different. Let's talk about this one. This is Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. I know your guy Angel Pacheco. You're a huge fan from back in the day. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen Angel Pacheco.
Unfortunately, the last time that he had fought was against Kalen Lochran, and it was not a good one. And now that dude's not even in the promotion; he's in the PFL.
Yeah,
So, unfortunately, the case is that Angel Pacheco, at his best, was somebody who gets beat on for 3 rounds, gets obliterated, but does it with a smile on his face and has the attitude that I do this for this is my career, you know? And unfortunately at 7-3, he's already proven that he's not the cream of the crop. But I think this is fireworks guaranteed. Santiago Luna is clearly given a T-ball right here. I mean, it's 21 versus 34 here against a dude who's going to get punched a lot. The question is he going to be able to withstand the punching power for 3 rounds? Now, Danny Silva beat the piss out this dude for 3 rounds, but as if you may know, Danny Silva lacks a lot of power in his hands. The Puma, whatever he calls himself, is very fast, very lightning quick with his strikes, but the power is lacking. Santiago Luna, if he catches bro, he probably will knock him out. I mean, I hate to say it because Angel Pacheco again is one of these dudes that he's a zombie. It's hard to and but Santiago Luna is going to have to be my pick, guys. I love Angel Pacheco and I'm going to love every moment that he's here, but it's unfortunately going to be the opposite end of the equation for him.
well, god damn it. I thought we were going to be differing on this one, but no, I mean, yeah, Santiago Luna coming in here, showing exactly why he came out of nowhere. He was one of those guys that just sort of appeared. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It didn't come up through tough or through the Contender Series, as far as I remember. That he a Contender Series guy? I want to say.
Luna, let's double
I
check.
think I think he just came out
No,
of.
yep, he just appeared on Noche UFC.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I remembered that, is because I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Where'd he come from? They found him
Yes.
somewhere in Mexico. You found this killer, and he came in here and got a finish in his first fight. So, I mean, that versus what we have seen out of Pacheco, even though he is a tough customer and he's a guy who's going to bring the fight, he's not going to be just a punching bag in there necessarily, but he could eventually become a punching bag, and that is what is something that is concerning as far as picking him. So I also have to go with Luna. I really thought that the Angel Pacheco bait was going to
No.
take you.
Nope, it wasn't. But this next guy, you might be close to getting me on the bait here.
All right, well, let's talk about it. This is Ryan Gondra versus Jose Daniel Medina. Oh, your boy is back, isn't he? And Gondra is a Contender Series guy, I believe, right? I mean, I remember the name.
Let me double check. This is a Contender Series guy who beat Trent Miller. No
By
idea. By knockout. I mean,
by
first round
knockout.
knockout.
Yeah, by first round. Another one of these instant knockout guys. You know, this is a common theme, especially in the last season of the Contender Series. We saw a lot of quick knockouts and a lot of contracts off of that. So, not a lot of data to go off of, but we do have a lot of data on Jose Daniel Medina. What are you thinking here?
The question is, can you knock him out? Because if you don't, there's potential that the ref will not stop the fight and he's going to get back up and he's going to be ready to continue going. Even Ateba Gautier didn't even knock him out. You know, it was kind of even an early stoppage if you really want my opinion. The dude was he was on the ground, but he was ready, dude. I mean, he was ready to fucking throw some up kicks, you know. But Jose Medina is one of these guys. Again, Angel Pacheco is written all over this dude. I mean, you just walk in there and get beat up and you laugh through it and you have a good time and everybody has a good time with it. I I would like to believe, and again, I know this worked with Sergey Spivak, and I flipped the script and I bet with my heart. I'm not going to do that with Angel Pacheco, but this guy right here, I'll do it. Jose Medina, if I lose everything on you, all of the credibility that I have for getting a flawless week, if it all goes out the window, if I go 11 and 12 because of you, I'm okay with it. I'm okay. Jose Medina, let's get this fucking dub, brother. Shout out Bolivia.
And you know, I think it's a fair thought process, and I'll tell you why. So, what I said about Pacheco just a second ago, he could become a punching bag. Medina is a punching bag. This dude is a punch magnet. This guy absorbs so many strikes and does it with a smile on his face, like you say. We don't know enough about Ryan Gondra to be able to make the decision here. You know what I mean? We don't know enough of like, is he going to be able to do that consistently? Is he going to be able to do that throughout all of the fight? But the reason that I am comfortable in taking Gondra in this fight is that Medina, like you said, the ref might not stop it. It won't matter if he's just taking massive amounts of strikes. And we have seen him do that time and time again. So for that reason, I gotta believe that if Gondra can land any power of any sort and can take that through to all three rounds, whether it's the knockout or it's a 3-round punch on the punching bag type of situation, that's what we have seen out of Medina. Could I be proven wrong in here? This is the exact fight that I should be proven wrong. Jose Medina should win this fight. This is a fight that he should win against a guy who should, is coming in fresh off the Contender Series. This is the fight that you should win if you are of the caliber of being in the UFC. I am going to go with Contender Series, man, with that full knowledge being there. But if that is what happens and Jose Medina does not win this fight, and I am correct, then this needs to be the absolute end. There's no more for him after that.
My big brain play is that Ryan Gondra has a first round that everybody thinks is really fucking good, and then he hits a wall on his gas tank, and then Medina comes out on top and gets a TKO.
I mean, it is middleweight. That's certainly a possibility. Absolutely, it's a possibility. This is what I'm saying. Like Medina is making it so that I am picking the way that I'm picking. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have enough to, Ryan Gondra, pick his name out of a hat from Contender Series guys that got a knockout. I am going strictly off of what we have seen out of this man, and what we have seen is a lot of strikes absorbed. A lot. I mean, like more so, really. I mean, like if I could think of quintessential punching bags in the UFC, he is it right now.
It's Marvin Vittori and him.
Bingo, literally. Yeah, both middleweight. What? How crazy is that? But so, that being said, I think that the logic of what you just said does track a lot. I mean, we're gonna have to see what this guy's conditioning looks like. There's a whole lot of unknowns here, but it is because of what we have seen out of Medina that I am going with the unknown versus the known.
All right, our first different pick of the night. If you guys aren't listening, now you are. Make sure to like whichever page you think has the better pick out of Jose Medina and Ryan Gondra. Jesus Christ.
I think I made a pretty good case as far as why I think the way that I'm thinking about this, knowing full well that Medina might win the fight, and that would be okay. But like, I'm gonna have to see it to believe it.
No, I'm not gonna lie. If Ryan Gondra loses, it's not okay to lose to Jose Medina. It just ain't, bro. I mean, you know this for a fact. If you lose to this guy, especially get finished, you pack up your bags right the fuck now.
I mean, his strike differential must be insane
Yeah.
in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like his differential must be like crazy in the negative.
You know, it's actually funny. I brought up this point with Carly Judice and Juliana Miller. If you look at the significant strikes landed per minute, Ryan Gondra almost, 11, Jose Medina 2.
Brother, come on, man.
Yeah,
I mean, all right. Well, you're locked in.
I'm locked in.
All right, we'll move on. Oh, hey, speaking of, you we were just talking about her. Your girl Eileen Perez is going up against Macy Chiasson. Oh boy. Chase, if this fight was taking place about 3 years ago, I would have a very strong opinion about who's going to win this fight. Now I have a very strong opinion in the other way. What do you think about this?
I think, obviously, Eileen's going to win. I don't think this is where Eileen gets halted, but I do think it is coming. I think it is eventually going to come because I don't think she is disciplined enough. I think she does a lot more outside shit. She's not in the gym enough. She's not active enough. Macy Chiasson, obviously, in my opinion, she's going to lose this fight, but I think based off of her last few performances, and I've brought this up on the podcast, I think there are some stipulations because I think in the fight before her last, if I believe right, or we'll just talk about the one that I know for sure what happened. I believe she was in a position where she was injured and or not able to compete 100%, but this was the week or 2 weeks after Macy Barber had pulled out of the main event. Macy Chiasson obviously sees that this is how you lose opportunities. She did not want to pull out of that. She didn't want to ruin the event, kind of quote unquote ruin the event. So she went through and fought a performance while she was injured. At least that's what it looked like to me because she didn't look very good in that fight. She didn't look like she was able to do anything. And even in the scrambles, she was like wincing a lot. So I would like to believe that in this performance, Macy Chiasson looks a lot better than she has in her last two. Granted, Eileen Perez should be able to just win this fight. I mean, Chason really has nothing to win a fight these days. I mean, the one fight that I've seen her win recently was from one elbow strike and the doctor stopped the fight. And granted, it was a bad cut, but you're not going to cut everybody across the forehead every single time where the doctor has to stop it. Eileen Perez is probably going to have a decent amount of success in the grappling. I unfortunately don't think Eileen's striking is where it needs to be, so she's going to have to rely on the grappling a lot more. But as of right now, guys, Eileen is still kind of. We're gonna have to see what she looks like now. Honestly, it's been so long. I mean, it's been over a year. She fought on the second or first card of last year and then did not fight again. So it's just insane to think about.
Very true. Yes. As far as Chason goes, the last fight that we talked about with her, I was saying that I basically a similar version where I was like, the fight before that, something seemed off, and I was like, I want to believe that she's going to come back stronger and better than ever. She did not do that. In fact, to the contrary, she came back looking worse.
Mm.
And that to me is very concerning. Macy Chiasson, for a while, this is why I'm so keyed in on her specifically, is because for a while there, I thought that she had what I would consider to be potential to really go far in this division. I mean, it's bantamweight we're talking about here. This is almost the Wild West in a lot of ways. You go out there and you make a name for yourself and you get a couple wins. You are now in the equation, a la Jocelyn Edwards. She did not do that and has been regressing in a way that I think is very unfortunate, considering that I thought that she had the characteristics that could have been very successful in this division. That reason alone right there, I mean, again, I'm going off of the current data that I have based on what she has been looking like lately. And if you want to chalk it up to her not being right, being sick, being injured, whatever the reasons are, yeah, if all of those things are fixed, maybe something changes a little bit here. I've seen Eileen Perez pull out performances and victories that I didn't expect her to get. I've been a pretty vocal about not being on the Eileen hype train here. I think that she's a little bit of a flash in the pan to an extent. I think that, she, like you said, she's not very disciplined, but she also doesn't really inspire much confidence in her fighting style to me. Like, she's not the greatest striker. She can clinch. She's gritty enough.
She's just tough.
There, exactly. She's gritty enough and tough enough to get these victories and pull out the victory when you don't think that she's going to do it. And I've been burned too many times on thinking that she doesn't have that grit. So I will acknowledge that it's there. Macy Chiasson, on the other hand, has let me down in tremendous ways in these last couple of fights when I really was high on her. For that reason, unfortunately, I also have to pick Eileen Perez. I really like Macy. This is your last shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, make me really upset that I picked Eileen Perez in this fight, and maybe things can change after that as far as how I'm looking at things. But as of right now, I just can't. I can't. I'm going off of what you are showing me, and you have not looked good in your last couple of fights.
Yeah, 100%. I'm also going with Eileen Perez on this one.
All right. Shout out to Argentina. Maybe we're going to get some twerking, you think?
Yes.
All right. Christian Quinones is fighting Chris Mutino. How about that? Chris Mutino back yet again, the guy who will never go away. It's amazing. I mean, he just, he gets beat and beat and beat again, and somehow he is here again.
I'm not gonna say I know too much about this fight. I know Chris Mutino is a zombie, and I know Christian Canones is somebody I don't even know. So I would say Chris Mutino just because I don't want to be the person who says the guy that I couldn't even tell you what this dude's done. But I would be remiss if I told you to bet on him and then he fucking loses, and I'd be like, well, I didn't fucking know anything. I know Chris Mutino, he could take a couple shots and he could get to the third round with most people. Malcolm Wellmaker's not one of those people, but Christian Quinones is not going to go ahead and finish my guy. I'm going to take Chris Mutino, and I know it's a stupid decision, but I don't care. I do what I want.
I like it. I mean, hey, go in there and Chris Mutino is a guy who gained an aura by losing. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those kind of dudes that like it's kind of that reverse psychologies to an extent, but he earned that. He
Mhm.
earned it by being tough enough to go almost the entire fight with Sean O'Malley and then comes back and
Stepping
gets
up on Wellmaker, you know?
I mean, like what I had said about him, I believe after that last fight is that I hope that they were going to give him a softball. I hope that they give him someone who he actually can finish. Quinones, I don't think it's him though. I think that this is unfortunately another instance where he is going to go out there and get beat. And I hate to say that, because like I am one of those people. I am a fan of Chris Mutino. I think that when you go out there against the guys that he has faced with the heart that he has shown, there is a definitive value to that. And that's why at the end of his career, I think he should always be able to hold his head up high and say, I went out there and did the damn thing. Like there are people who would never have done what I did, and I did it. Like I think that he should be proud of himself for testing himself against the level of competition that they've put him against, and he is walking face first into it. Quinones is not of the caliber necessarily of the other people that we've talked about, but I do think that he is better than Chris Mutino.
So you're taking Quinones.
I certainly am. Yes, I
All
am.
right. All right. If you guys didn't hear it one more time, we are split.
We are
And
split
it's the
here.
two fights that nobody gives a shit about the most, but
Well, I mean, these are the ones that should be the splitability. You know what I mean?
True.
Like that's if there's any kind of dissenting opinions either way, then that's because there's a potential for it to go multiple different directions. Hopefully.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, next up, this is Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. Am I
This
familiar with either of these guys?
Javier Reyes is a Contender Series guy, and he is the Colombian Mictebek. He's a striker, though, and caveman is written all over his face. He's one of these guys. I've brought it up before. Contender Series has two types of people. You have a guy who's 6-0, 7-0, 9-0, and very inexperienced, and then you have the South American who is 22-5. Like,
He was the one that went that the fight was like a long kind of war-y sort of fight. Am I right?
no,
Oh no, is that not him?
this was a first round knockout. Yeah.
Oh, okay, my mistake then. Yeah, no, I guess I'm confusing him with a different guy. But all right, okay, so first round knockout for him with 22-5 is the record. Definite experience there. I do remember De Andrade here off of his face. I remember him now.
Last
I
fight against Miles Johns, unanimous decision loss.
Right. Okay. So all right. Well then, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm taking Javier Reyes for sure. No, I mean, when you see a guy who looks like him, if he looks primitive, his fighting is very second nature to these guys. I mean, they're not too far out of the era where they would fight for their lives. So I really think this guy has got this one done. And listen, guys, I think he's going to show us who a true killer is. Colombian Colombians are pretty fucking good, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that aspect what you just outlined, and also the fact that Douglas is 40 years old. 40 years old, coming off of a loss, and one that obviously did not make an indelible impression in my mind to the point where I had to recognize his face. I'm going with Javier Reyes as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Uh,
I don't think you'll regret that pick. You're gonna be like, this Javier Reyes dude is pretty fucking good.
yeah, unless Douglas submits him, but we will see about that, I suppose.
Nah, this Javier Reyes dude, he's like 8-1 in submissions too.
Okay.
He's like 10 and hold on, let me double check. Because honestly, this dude's pretty fucking impressive. 10-2 TKOs, 8-1 submissions. I mean, coming
That
into the organization too. So
Yeah, no, and that is like the difference with some of these contender series guys, like you said. It's like there's a version of it where they're green, they're new. It's like there's a lot of question marks, and then there's the other version of like the guys who've just been fighting forever and just never made it to the UFC until now.
yep.
So yeah, okay, I like it. I think it tracks. See about this one though. This is your girl is back. This is Ernesta Karatskite versus Sofia Montenegro. Montenegro coming in off the contender series.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, this is the ex ring girl, or did she fight the ex ring girl?
I believe this is the ex-ring girl, if I'm not mistaken myself. I think so.
And what I will say is when you watch her in the Contender Series, you realize like, oh yeah, she's like not a ring girl. Like she truly is like has the grit of a fighter. She's a real gritty girl. I mean, she does go in there for a war. What I will say is you better be prepared because Ernesta is somebody who's going to give it to you for 3 rounds. If you guys may not remember, this is the person who went 3 rounds and beat Carly Judice on the Contender Series by split decision. One of the best fights that I think I've ever seen. I talk about this all the fucking time. Ernesta is truly just a special type of striker. I really enjoy the fact that she's able to go 3 rounds. She's tall. She just boxes the head off. She doesn't kick at all. No, just body shots and headshots. Just all she does is just rip the boxing and she'll walk you down. And what I think is funny is like, did they look at the flags and they thought like this was Colombia or something? Because that's Lithuania, but it looks awfully like the Colombian flag, which is really funny. But Ernesta, you should be able to get this one done. You're more seasoned. It's been a while since you fought, but you cannot let somebody come in from the Contender Series and beat you. What I will say though, it will be a decision. No, there's no finishing ability from Ernesta, unfortunately.
True. Yeah. Yeah, I'm agreeing with the thought process here. Ernesta is a lot taller. She's not going to have to worry much about takedown threat from Montenegro, so it's probably going to stay on the feet. Taller also means better ranged attacks. Ernesta likes to throw her kicks. I think that there is a lot of potential for her to stay at range, pop her from the outside, keep on the outside for a lot of this fight. If you recall, Montenegro, I believe, actually, could you bring it? Did she win the fight that she was in? Because this was during the time where both the fighters
Nope.
got. Yeah, she did not win the fight. So what my point was is that both the fighters in that fight got contracts. Montenegro, being the one who lost the fight, still got a contract after the loss. I think that Ernesta is going to just be too much of a handful for her and her debut in the organization. Not saying that she can't have a nice victory thereafter sometime, but Pretty Privilege is not going to pull a victory out from Ernesta on this one. I think Ernesta takes the victory on this.
All right. We are still cooking here together, walk in tandem.
At least for a couple of these for sure. All right. Eric Silva is going up against Francis Fire Marshall. Eric Silva.
Yeah, 38 years old, random guy from Venezuela. Francis Marshall actually looked really good in this last performance against Myron Santos and arguably got robbed. So, yeah, I mean, this one seems pretty easy to me. I mean, if Eric Silva pulls out something out his ass that is like the kryptonite for Francis Marshall, hats off to him. But again, I'm not going to be the guy that sits here and places my bet on a guy that ain't made an impression on me. I know I've seen him before because he's obviously the guy that I sit here and say, that guy looks really white, and you're telling me he's South American? It's interesting, like he looks like a white guy, but his last name's Silva. Sure, that's the only thing I can tell you about him. I'm taking Francis Marshall, and that's the end of it.
I mean, I am among those people who thought that Marshall got robbed against Santos. I thought it was actually one of the poorer robberies that I can think of in recent memory. We've talked about that in depth on the show. Yeah, for that exact same reason, I'm in the same boat on this. I think Francis Marshall has been getting a little bit of the raw deal here. I think he's a better fighter than 8-3 would lead you to believe. Now, that's not even a terrible record in and of itself, but like, with one of those being a potential robbery there, I mean, this could easily be 9-2, and that would be, speaking even farther volumes. So, yeah, I mean, I think that this is one that should be the bounce back for Francis Marshall. Go out here, take this 38-year-old dude out to task, and regain whatever ground you lost in that fight, because I do think that sometime down the road it would be nice to run that fight back, and maybe Marshall ends up getting on the right side of that thing.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, another lockstep. Maybe we'll differ on the final fight to start this card off. This is Damian Pinas versus Wes Schultz. My man Pinas is back. Oh, brother, I've got an opinion about this fight.
Well, what I will say is I have publicly made it known that Wes Schultz is one of the worst fighters that I've ever seen. Now, he did pull off the Suliev stretch against a 19-year-old dude from Albania. Sure, if you guys want to call it a spade, whatever, that's fine. Damian Pinas is he has a 100% finish rate, by the way. The only loss that he has to date is an illegal kick that he did, and he got disqualified. So other than that, he's got 7 KOs and a submission to his name. He's 8-1. The only legitimate loss being an illegal strike that he threw. I am going to take him to beat Wes Schultz because Wes Schultz, again, is one of the I'll just save it, guys. He's not good. He's not very good, in my opinion. Did not pass the eye test. I don't care what creative, unheard of submission that he was able to pull off on a guy who's as green as grass. But this fight right here, 23 years old, from Aruba, not Jamaica, nor do I want to take you, but Damian's going to get this one done. I'm
I
taking it.
mean, I was also going to bring up the fact that he is representing for Aruba. Talk about underrepresented nations in this sport. He is literally the only Arubian fighter that I think I've ever heard of in my life. What's up?
This is the guy that speaks other languages, right?
Yes.
Yes, he speaks a lot of different languages, if I'm
I,
not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah, he was in his post fight speaking perfect English, but also speaks like several others, I think.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, yeah, Pinas is a dude who made an impression on the Contender Series. Wes Schultz, a dude obviously who made an impression based on the submission that he pulled off. It's unfortunate that we do not have more data on Pinas's fights as far as like how close he may have been to being submitted or any of that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, maybe there's some advanced analytics that would lead us to, understand whether the submission threat is really that big of a threat, period. But if I'm not mistaken, Wes Schultz is a 2-time Contender Series guy, is he not?
Yes, he lost on the Contender Series the first time, got knocked out by Ateba Gautier, I believe. No,
Bingo.
Mansour Abdul Malik. I'm racist.
Bingo. Either way, it's still the same point that I'm trying to make, is that if Wes Schultz is able to be knocked out, Damian Pinas can knock him out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is a submission potentially there? If Pinas is not careful, it could be like any, there's a puncher's chance to anything happening in these fights. But what we saw, Pinas went out there and did the damn thing on the Contender Series, made an impression on me. I like it. I like the fact that he's repping Aruba. I want to see more, representation of these smaller nations getting their shine. And he is the guy that's going to be taking Aruba and putting it on the map. Take a little pin, you put it into the nation of Aruba with Pinas's face right on there.
All right, so you're taking Pinas, right?
I am, and I mean, I really would like it because I think that the guy, like I said, I liked his performance on the show, and I liked him as a person as well. Schultz, a dude who has already lost on the Contender Series, does not give me great confidence that he's going to be able to win on the actual big stage.
100%. The only thing that I would mention is that the women are not fighting first, so this leads me to believe that this female matchup is not going to be what we expect it to be. If it was, it'd be the first fight of the night, but it's not. So we could see some interesting stuff, but I will say that Wes Schultz should get finished. And yeah, I think that caps off this week's for the picks. Does anybody out there want to know what the live numbers are for me and Thinker head to head?
Well,
All
I
right.
certainly do.
Thinker, I will read yours off first. You are at 29 points for this year. I am at 40 now.
Oh my
I
god.
have double digit you. It's gonna be a steep climb. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just truly have to have a bad week, and you have to stop picking the same as me. I mean, we got to
I
figure
mean,
it out.
It's true. I mean, like, look, there's some times where it makes sense to go the opposite direction and other times not. So, I mean,
True.
yes, we're gonna have to find those differences in there somewhere. But, yeah, maybe one of these weeks I'll pick first. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll have to
There
switch
we
that
go.
up. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Either way, look, I'm happy that you are doing as well as you are, Chase. I give you all of the praise for your great predictions. I'm very happy about that. I have always said many times I am not great at predicting fights. So at least there's one of us that is, and that is why you are the go-to co-host. So congratulations on that. But I'm still gunning for you either way.
Hell yeah. No, I appreciate it. It gives us credibility, you know? It doesn't make us look like we're complete idiots, you know? Listen, I can always be like, "Oh yeah, well, who's got a fucking top 10% of the prelims of Sean Strickland and Fluffy Hernandez?" I do, you know? So,
It's very true. It's very true. That verdict, black belt's getting a bunch of stripes on it nowadays. Very good.
yeah.
But we will find out the results of all of the fights that we just predicted together when we watch them on our individual watch alongs. Of course, I am at youtube.com/@Yama Show for mine. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you for yours.
They can find me at youtube.com/@CP Smalls, man. And of course, every Friday morning, we are watching one early as fuck. So make sure you guys are there. I appreciate that.
You really should be because those fights are a lot of fun. Great way to start your Friday. I am at Yama Show on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook. Follow your boy on those platforms. Stuff coming throughout the week. A little bit of a hectic week this week for me, but we'll see what we have throughout the week. Other live streams, potentially some other watch alongs, maybe a video if there's something worth talking about in video form. Either way, always keep your eye on the channel. One more shout out to the chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this very long show that we do on Monday nights. You guys are the best. We appreciate you for that. And we will see you in the next one. So until then, everybody, you have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.